can't hide myself. I don't expect you to understand. I just hope I can explain what it's like to be a man. It's a lonely road, and they don't care about what you know. It's not about how you feel, but what you provide inside that home.
Let me
Ever.
give you a hot take right there, and this might cause some comments on your in the comment section of the podcast. I don't even think LeBron's top five.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think LeBron's top five. But we'll get in. I mean, because you gotta think, you got Larry Bird.
Yeah. He wouldn't
Then
be on
then
my starting five if I had to create like my ultimate fantasy team. I don't think I would put him on my team. Well, to get to you, um, I know something uh, about you that I kind of would like to touch on. I don't know when it happened. I just know of it. But you told me that your mom passed away. What age were you when that happened?
uh, that was over 10 years ago. I was 37,
Okay.
30, 36, 37.
And
Yeah.
how close were you to your mom prior? Obviously.
Oh, my mom was my best friend. Actually, to actually stream. Now I know we always do that. We always do a segment where, what does Star King mean? What does Star King mean to me? Um, Star King, Star King means a lot of things to me. I'll just sum it up in words: brother, friend, loyal, honest, straight shooter, awesome father, great husband, great provider, a man of many talents, and a very hardworking individual.
Now to get to the end of the podcast, I guess, because I always ask this question after I ask that. Chris Van Vliet is a wonderful podcaster. I love him. I started doing this exercise because of him. And I start every day and end every day the same way now. I start with saying three things I'm grateful for and end with three things I'm grateful for. A lot of times it's the same thing, but they do change. So as we sit here, Section 8 Gaming, at the end of this podcast, what are three things that you are grateful for? What is going on? It is another edition of Star King Gaming Presents, and this time we got Star King Gaming Presents Story Time. And this week's story is going to be Section 8 Gaming. For those who don't know who he is, you might want to go look him up. Tommy C, aka Section 8 Gaming, is a wonderful person. Currently, he is not an active content creator, but he is somebody that truly believes in helping content creators, including myself. He's somebody that has been behind me since the day one that we met each other. Truly one of my best friends in the world. I don't talk to him enough. I'll be honest, only because he's a Packers fan, and me being a Lions fan, I can't do it. I just can't do it. No, but all seriousness, Section 8 Gaming is a wonderful human being. I love him. I talk to him, I would say, at least on a weekly basis, if not more. I try to reach out to him more. It's just kind of hard with work for both of us, and we're both busy. He is a wonderful human being. For those who don't know, Section 8 Gaming is somebody who has helped a lot of us content creators, the Black Ice X, the Duke Gaming. You name it, this guy is one of those people that he will help support their dreams if they need help. He likes helping the small timers. I don't consider Duke small time because Duke is a lot bigger than me. Um, Not that this is a penis measuring contest or anything like that, but I meant like as far as his reach and everything, and it also helps that Duke actually streams more regularly than I do. That's saying something because Duke doesn't stream that much. Anyway, Section 8 and I have a very unique bond, even though our hatred for each other's teams is a little different. We still love each other very much. I actually respect him. He respects me. When we're not playing each other on Sunday or Thursday or Monday, we get along just fine. um, I will say this, even though I'm a diehard Lions fan, I am always going to root for my followers' teams, and I want to see them. I want to see every team succeed. Obviously, it ain't gonna happen. There's no way unless every team, finishes 500, and that's not fun. There's always got to be a juggernaut team out there. I think this year the Packers have a really good team. I'm hoping the Lions have a good enough team to get to the playoffs. It's tough right now. There's a lot of good competition out there. No offense to the divisions, but the Bears are looking good. The Lions are looking good. It's a weird thing because even the Vikings don't look that bad. Considering all things considering, it's just mind blowing how good our division is with the Packers included. I just want to say this: if we do better than the Packers, I'm happy. But if we don't, I'm still happy because we're doing better than what we did 5 years ago. So I'm throwing that out there. Now, to better talk about the future of the podcast, I've been getting a lot of questions, and I'm going to probably say this in every single podcast. Why the sudden change? Why the change at all? The podcast format was really good. It was. And to better tell the story, I'm going to start from the beginning. When I first started this journey of podcasting, originally it was my idea to interview content creators. And then I brought in a few people to join us. First person I brought in was King Uno. And obviously, King Uno and we did this podcast for a long time. The Kingdom Talks with Kings could very well be coming back. I haven't decided yet if we're going to bring it back, but there's definitely a possibility for it to come back. Now, to better tell the story of the podcast, though, I need to tell the whole story. When King Uno and I were first talking, I said, well, we need somebody that does football. He said, well, what about Brady, a.k.a. running up the skull? Brady's an excellent, Madden player. Back in the day, he was a Madden content creator. He streams, but he's still somebody that I find to be a very close person in my life, somebody I actually love like a brother. Even though I don't talk to him on a regular basis, I still am glad he's in my life. And then we were thinking baseball. Well, King Uno actually was the one that came up with the idea. Well, what about at the time he was streaming under the name KMF because he's always playing MLB The Show, and maybe we could ask him. And I was like, actually, that's not a bad idea. So we invited Kevin, who now is no longer a streamer to a certain degree. I don't know if there's just reasons. To my knowledge, there's not. He just doesn't stream. But Kevin was an amazing content creator on Twitch in his own right. Played a lot of MLB. And then we started doing these podcasts where we were interviewing content creators. Originally, the first one was supposed to be a guy named Tatted 49er, who has probably been mentioned in every single one of these podcasts since we returned. It's kind of weird. Tatted had to back out. There was something that happened. It just mentally, he couldn't do it. So we got D2M. So technically, the first podcast was an intro that I did by myself. And then we did one with D2M, and then we started interviewing other people. Black Ice X, who I recently interviewed. If you haven't heard, give him a listen. And then Duke came along. Probably the funniest podcast ever was the first Duke podcast. The first Duke podcast was so much fun. It was an amazing experience. I love Duke. I wish you guys could have seen that live. I wish Facebook didn't delete all the live footage. Unfortunately, I have no longer access to that. I do have the podcast that I could listen to. So there's that. But we started doing those podcasts covering these content creators. And then we took a little break. Not a long break, but we did take a little break because we were trying to figure out, how do I say it? We were trying to figure out a way to better our podcast. Well, then King Uno and I, we had this group with Nambo. Now, Nambo is one of my best friends to this day. Nambo was a huge wrestling fan back in the 90s, the Attitude Era. And so we were talking, and Nambo says, there's not very many podcasts that cover the Attitude Era. And King Uno and I were both like, yeah, you know what? You're right. There isn't. And so we started talking. Next thing I know, there was this talk of, well, maybe we should do a podcast. Like, what about us? Like, why not us? Right? So we started doing wrestling podcasts, and originally it was me, King Uno, and Nambo, and then things happened. Nambo had to back out. I think the last podcast that Nambo was in was actually the Stephen Baker podcast, which to this day is probably my favorite podcast. I will say that Stephen Baker's podcast is my favorite because of what he means to me and what it was. It was an opportunity for us to interview a Super Bowl winning wide receiver, and how many opportunities can I get with like that? I mean, I'm sure they're going to come. I'm sure, because these podcasts are doing really well on YouTube. Now, to better tell the podcast story, and I do apologize for that, Nambo kind of took a backseat because of things that were happening. Kids had to be taken care of and so forth. Typical, life situations. Life happens. So King Uno and I kind of did our own thing, and we were still doing the wrestling podcast, and we were having a lot of fun, but it was just getting too hard because we were both working so much. Well, time went by, and I started doing my own podcast. I did the Star King Gaming Presents, and it was the life and death of these fellow athletes. Derek. I thought I was going to say sneeze. I am so sorry. I thought I was going to sneeze there. It just like crept up. I hate those because now my head's going to hurt. I am so sorry about that. But Derek Thomas, Junior Seau, some of the names that I covered, two linebackers right there that were a big part of the AFC West in the 90s and very early 2000s with Derek Thomas, who passed away, I believe, in 2001. I could be wrong. I don't remember now. Ironically, he was in a bad car accident and ended up having a heart attack and passing away at a very young age. I think he was only 33 when he passed. Anyway, I covered a few other, football players. I was going to do a basketball player one, and it just never came about. I did baseball, basketball, or football. 2 times I think I did football. And they got a lot of listens, actually a lot. I think I made more money doing those podcasts than I did any of them. Anyway, that's not the point. That's neither here or there. Anyway, back to the story. I started to, realize like I was missing something. So I did a King Uno podcast, and it was good. We kind of interviewed King Uno, the switch from Facebook, Twitch to TikTok, and to the transformation, so to speak. And that podcast actually did pretty well too, ironically. But I took a break, and the itch was always there. This was back in September of 2024. Ironically, a month later, I would be leaving my job at Lucky. And that was very tough. Started working at CVS, I love that job, but there was never any hours towards the end of my career. Now I'm working as a manager at a grocery store, and I love it. But things just happen. It just wasn't like the option wasn't there. It was just more so the timing of everything. And then I kind of fell in a little bit of a funk because I wasn't making as much money. I wasn't doing as well as I was while I was working at Lucky, and things started taking a toll. But I knew I was going to bounce back. And I started thinking about it, and I wanted to start pretty much during the summertime before I even left CVS. I knew I was going to come back with a podcast. A few things came up. I started to think to myself, like, what do I want to do? What kind of podcast would I want to cover? So I started listening to the podcast, and I found literally zero to little relevance to the podcast. Like me and King Uno, one of the podcasts, I remember very specifically this part of the podcast. King Uno made a comment. He said, it's a sad day when the Houston Texans are a worse team than the Lions, rated on Madden. I don't remember what year it was, but they were like a 74, and the Lions were like a 78 or something like that, It was like, I just remember specifically him saying that, and I was just like, wow. And now it's kind of the opposite. They're both actually pretty solid teams, better teams than they were for sure. And I started to really think, like, I mean, granted, we do love to talk sports, but this isn't necessarily a sports podcast. Yes, we do talk sports. Yes, I love sports. I love football. I love basketball. I love baseball. I love them all. But this isn't what this is about. Like, this was a way for us to learn about a lot of people. And I started thinking to myself, like, how can I make this podcast both relatable and relevant? And then it kind of came to me, like, you know what? We talk a lot about mental health. We do. And we did. Why not make this a mental health podcast? And then originally it was going to be men's mental health. And then I started thinking about it. Women deal with the same kind of things we do, if not worse than we do. Postpartum depression is a real thing, especially when you have kids. I know that can happen. It's common. Actually, it's extremely common. And I started thinking, like, what can I do to make a successful podcast? And I started listening to a guy named Chris Van Fleet. Um, if you don't know who he is, give him a follow. I highly recommend it. You want to talk about positivity? This is a guy that brings positivity to the world. And I started listening to his podcast, and he's interviewing wrestlers, and I'm like, wow, he's making the podcast both relevant and relatable because he's asking them. It's more of an interview. I mean, it's more of a hangout than an interview, but he is still interviewing them. He's asking them questions, and it's like he's keeping the podcast relevant and relatable. And he made a comment that that's his goal. He wants the podcast to be both relevant and relatable. And I'm like, I want that. That's exactly what I'm missing from my podcast. So I decided, why don't we start covering mental health? And so I sat down, and originally, like I said, the plan was to do only men, to only do men's mental health. And I sat down, I wrote this long list of people. I would say probably like 20 people on this list of paper. And there was one name that kept sticking out, and his name is Ruben. Ruben lost a child, and if you listen to the first podcast that we brought back of this season, which is season number 6, by the way, the first episode of season 6 is Ruben, and he talks about infant loss, and he talks about a miscarriage. He talks about, what he went through dealing with these things, dealing with his father not knowing how to really show love, and how he was able to get what he wanted from his father, that validation, so to speak. And I'm telling you these things because I want you guys to understand, like, the reasoning behind the podcast change is this, is I wanted it to be relatable and relevant. And I started thinking about it. When I listened to the Ruben podcast, I listened to it very well. And I say after I was done listening to it, I sat down and I said to myself, this is what I wanted. Because I could listen to this story 10 years from now and find something I still relate to. Or same thing with somebody else. Somebody else 10 years from now can hear this podcast, come through their feed, and they just go, wow, this guy's telling my story. Or this guy, I'm getting into insurance right now. I want to become an insurance salesman. This guy is doing exactly what I'm doing. Or maybe somebody wanted to become a father, lost an infant at 30 days, like Ruben did. And they could sit there and say, okay, there are helpful tools out there. I can go find help for myself. And that's what I wanted to do. And then we got Alex Miller, Duke, and now this week is Section 8. We also had Black Ice X, of course, the last podcast. Now, to make the podcast both relevant and relatable, I also want to make sure that I'm doing them on a bi-weekly basis. I'm not going to do a weekly podcast because that's just too much, because there's a lot of things that I have to do, such as editing and so forth. So there's a lot of work that has to go into it. Now, as far as sponsorship goes, I know if you listen to a lot of podcasters, especially Chris Van Vliet, during his podcast, he'll interrupt throughout the podcast to tell some kind of sponsor or throw a sponsorship in there. I am never going to do that. You will get a sponsorship at the beginning, which we do have with Kickoff, and I'll explain that here in a minute. But the reason why I don't want to do that is because I don't want to interrupt the podcast if I don't have to. It's one thing if there's like technical issues or something like that. That's one thing. But to interrupt a full-on podcast just so I can tell you about this wonderful product, blah, 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 that's not going to happen. I'm sorry. Now, to get to the podcast sponsor, Kickoff is a wonderful program. For as little as $5 a month, it will report to the Equal Facts Credit Bureau. For $20 to $35, they have two different programs. $20 will actually report to all three credit bureaus, just like the $35. But there's a lot more that you can get with the $35. I recommend you start with the $5 plan simply so you can understand how it works. It's literally $5 a month. My credit score when I first started this journey back on August 20th was at a terrible, and I mean horrible 548. Yes, 548. Now I'm at a 618 as we speak. And as I record this, it's actually, I'm just going to tell you the truth. I recorded this after the Section 8 podcast. Today is actually December 1st. I do apologize. When we recorded this, it was about a week ago. But I just looked at my credit score literally just before I started recording this, and it is at 618. So just mind blowing how much has grown in like less than 6 months. And it reports to the Equifax that you're paying off a loan in a sense. I didn't want to have to get a credit card if I didn't need to because I didn't want to build my credit that way. I wanted to try this program out. I tried it out years ago and I remember it did help, but I wanted to really rebuild my credit because eventually I'd like to buy a new car, maybe a new house, so that way I have my own little stream room, or not stream room per se, but a gaming room-esque that I can do my podcasting in. I have a lot of future plans. It's not going to be easy. In fact, I'm going to need all your help. But anyway, to build your credit, all you have to do is on each podcast, there's going to be a link. And you just click the link. As soon as you click the link, you sign up for a new account, and we both get $30. It's a win-win. You could use that $30 to start your credit building. I know that credit is a big part of our lives. I didn't realize it until I started really reading into it, that credit could actually stop you from getting a career. Some places require you to have a 650 or higher credit score to work for them. And only thing I can think of, like based off the information I kind of looked up, is they require it because they want to make sure that you're good with money. Which doesn't make sense because sometimes just bad things happen. You make bad investments. I know I did, or maybe you married the wrong person and she took everything you got, so your credit went to hell. Again, Kickoff is a wonderful program. Trust me, guys, if you don't want to sign up for it, by all means, please don't. It's not something that I'm promoting because I want the money from them. No, it's because I truly, genuinely use the product. In fact, I just made a payment today for $5, even though it's not due till the 20th. I pay in advance because that way I'm good. I don't have to worry. Now I'm good until January 20th because Christmas is coming up. Yeah, I only pay $5 a month, but hey, it is what it is. Now, the last thing I want to talk to before we get into the podcast is I have asked a few fellow content creators, female content creators or former female content creators, including a lady that I talked about, Shadow Lady Gaming, aka Brown Sugar Foodie, who in my heart will always be Shadow Lady. We are going to do a podcast. I can't wait. That's going to be coming up here 2 weeks after this podcast airs. I will be putting that out. The reason why I wanted to interview her, there's going to be a couple interviews that I'm going to do with her. The first one it's just going to be an introduction, really, in a sense. And then I want to do one with her and her husband. Her husband is Black Ice X Entertainment. I always want to say Black Ice X Gaming because that's what I know him for many years. Now he's Black Ice X Entertainment because he is entertainment. And I keep forgetting to say that. But Black Ice X and Miss Shadow Lady Gaming are two amazing people who, when I think of a perfect couple, I think of them because they're just so amazing. Both of them have the most unique personalities. And I know there's no such thing as a perfect marriage, but in my eyes, when I think of two perfect people, I think of them. But she has agreed to do a podcast. In fact, we are going to be recording that here pretty soon. I also agreed to talk to Stony Loki. Star Queen is actually going to be on here, so be on the lookout for that. Like I said, I originally had started this idea and I wanted to do men's mental health, and I do apologize to all you females out there because that's really not who I am. I'm not a sexist type person. It was just something I was truly passionate about because of, and I think I've told this story before, that men's mental health a lot of times goes unnoticed. And at one point, the suicide rate for men was almost 73%. It was a 72.4%. The highest I've seen was 72.8. In the last 5 years, I didn't really look too far into detail. Last year was 68.4. I think it was 68.7. Was last year's total, so 2024. And it's something that goes unnoticed. Now, granted, I also understand the statistic is based off of, you know, men do put a lot on their plate. And I understand that there's sometimes where men just refuse to want to talk, and that's just how we are. We're stubborn. And that's why I also think that the statistics are a little bit higher than what it should be, because we tend to not want to get help. And that's what this podcast is about trying to help. And I realized when I was listening to it, I was like, you know what? I really should get some females in here, because some of them have had lives that could help others. So why not get the ladies in here? And I love this. Shadow Lady Gaming, ironically, is going to be the first time I ever interviewed a woman that I wasn't married to or King Uno wasn't married to. It's crazy. I never knew this. Like, I went looking through the podcast. We never interviewed a female content creator. We never had a female in there other than, I think Karen Jimenez was in one. Paige, when we did the Go for a Beer, she was in that one. But other than but she wasn't really in it. None of them were ever really in it. Now that, I started thinking about it, I was like, this is going to be amazing. I'm actually super excited. I can't wait. I really cannot wait to do the Brown Sugar Foodie, aka Shadow Lady Gaming. I can't wait to do that one at all. But let's get into this week's podcast. This week we are covering Section 8. Again, I've said this before. I'm going to say it again. I love him. He's a wonderful human being. So please make sure you give him a follow. He may not stream, but if he ever does decide to make a return, he can start with, the Section 8 Gaming, streaming platform that he has on Facebook. I don't know if he'll ever stream on Facebook, but, it's a good way to get alerts and get caught up. If you know who he is, he's a wonderful human being. Again, there's going to be a lot more podcasts coming up. Elite Player Gaming, D2M. I got a lot of people that I have lined up. It's just a matter of getting them in. I cannot wait. I'm absolutely loving these podcasts. I want to say one last thing, and I am sorry for rambling. The last thing I want to say is, because it just came to my mind, I probably should have added this into the end, but I'm already here. We're here. We're committed. Thank you guys so much. You guys are allowing me to pursue my dream, and I love this. For those who don't know, my original dream job, I wanted to be a banker. I wanted to work at a bank. I wanted to work with a bank that had a vault. But then I really got into sports statistics, really. And my dream was to become a sports broadcaster. So in a sense, I'm kind of fulfilling my dream. Even though I'm not doing sports, I'm still kind of like a broadcaster in a sense. I'm broadcasting people's lives, interviewing them. This is an amazing opportunity. I think you guys are truly going to love the next two podcasts that we have. Today's being Section 8 Gaming, and the next one being Miss Brown Sugar Foodie, a.k.a. Shadow Lady Gaming, a.k.a. Miss Cherie. I think you guys are going to enjoy this. And again, I cannot thank you guys enough. But here we go. Let's get into this week's podcast. Thank you guys so much. And we are back with another podcast. Another wonderful edition of Star King Gamer Presents Story Time. And this week's story, we got the legendary Section 8 Hitman, Section 8 Gaming, whatever you want to call him. He's a legend out there. He's known as Tommy C. I know him as a brother. He is somebody I go to for advice. Even if it's not advice I know I'm going to want to hear, but I know he won't steer me the wrong way. He's a wonderful human being, somebody that's been there with me through some dark times and has been there through the great times. And I can honestly say I'm blessed to have people like him in my life. I met him through gaming, through this wonderful pandemic that we had. And I say wonderful because I met a lot of amazing people. If it wasn't for that pandemic, I don't think I would have met them. And this is going to be Section 8 story. So Section 8, let's start with your story. Let's start with your childhood. What was your childhood like?
My childhood was well, first off, thank you for all the wonderful compliments and things you say. I don't know if I don't know if I should, put you on the payroll, send you have the IRS contact you, as far as being, as one of the dependents. I mean, that's great things that you said, man. I really appreciate all
And
that.
I
I
met
just try
every
to
word, met every word
I
of it.
just I just try to treat people like, like I would want to be treated, That's the golden rule, you don't want to you want to put that good energy out there. You want to treat people like, you want to be treated. If you
And you
treat people like crap, odds are that's going to come back and that's going to come back to you.
you
So I always
definitely
want to
treat
treat I
me
always
good, yeah.
want to yeah, so I always want to treat people like I would want to be treated, man. You got to take care of the people that take care of you.
There's like 2 or
You know
3
what I
weeks
mean?
of the year that I don't like you. That's because our rivalry is so deep.
Oh,
Me
I
being a
mean,
Lions fan.
you could
Although
you could
I will say this.
you could dislike me a little bit after Thursday. It'll be
Yeah.
okay.
I
But
honestly, I I'm not that big of a Packers hater. I hate the Vikings worse, so I'm
oh
okay
yeah, well,
because y'all
well
beat the Vikings.
we took care of them today.
Yeah, no, I'm
They
okay with y'all right now. You guys are my friends because you beat the Vikings. I don't know what it is about the Vikings. I've always disliked them. Their jerseys are awesome and everything. I don't know what it is about them. I don't like them. The Vikings, Chargers, for whatever reason, and Jaguars. I just cannot stand those 3 teams.
ah well, I
It's
mean, it's for me. It's still the Bears. I mean,
Oh, don't get me wrong. I hate the Bears too, especially
yeah.
finger pain
I
boy.
don't care about the Bears. I mean, Cowboys are right up there with the Bears.
I
Can't
don't like
stand the
the
Cowboys.
fans of the Cowboys.
Well, they're just delusional. You
Yeah,
win two games and then all of a sudden
they're
they're
Super
Super Bowl
Bowl. Yeah,
contenders.
they're Super Bowl
Yeah,
contenders.
they're so
They,
delusional. It's
they
not
go
even funny.
undefeated in the preseason. Oh, this is our year.
Oh, but I will do this. I will just shout out to Cowboys fans. Shout out to Jerry Jones for giving us Micah Parsons.
Hey,
We really
major shout
we
out for that. That was a blessing in disguise. He's a beast.
yeah we,
Like
we really appreciate that 2 sack day today. You know
I
what I
will
mean?
say
That's
though, rest in peace to that what's the name? Michael Nealon or
yeah, Mark
Nealon.
Nealon. Yes,
Yeah,
Nealon.
that was a sad story. Ended very
Absolutely.
badly. And I sympathy does go to his family and the Cowboys. I will say it's one time. I will say that I do hope and pray that the family is going to be well taken care of. I have a feeling that knowing Jerry Jones how he is with money, he likes to spend it. I have a feeling they'll be okay. But
I
anyway,
mean,
back to the podcast.
yeah, yeah.
All right, what
Sorry
was your
about that.
childhood like? No, no, no. You're all good. This is your podcast, man. What was your
Um,
childhood like?
the childhood was pretty good. I mean, you know, you go through everything in life. I came from a single mother household. I have 3 siblings, three sisters. Um, my mom did the best she could. We were basically in Chicago for the first 13 years of my life, and then we migrated from Chicago to the South, where I've been here ever since then. My grandfather and my grandmother loved the South, and my mother loved the South too because she used to come and visit because we had family here.
Yeah.
And of course, we came down here and we never went back. We're what these South called damn Yankees because we came down here and we never went back up north. So that's why they call us the damn Yankees. We fit into that category pretty well. So
I mean, it makes sense why you like the Chicago White Sox. I was always kind of curious about your teams because you're a Packers fan and a White Sox fan.
and
I
a
was
Bulls fan too. Don't
I kind
forget
of
that.
figured Bulls would be there. Don't I'm not hating on the Bulls. Even though I'm a Pistons fan at heart, Michael Jordan is arguably one of the greatest players. In my opinion,
Whoa,
he's
arguably one of the greatest? No, no,
depending
no.
on who you ask,
The
I think he
greatest.
is.
The greatest.
I think he is, in my opinion.
The greatest.
And then I would put Kobe at number 2 over LeBron. That's just my
I
opinion.
agree.
I
I agree.
think I'm not hating on anybody's opinion on that, but Michael Jordan to me is the greatest basketball player I ever seen play
Let me
ever.
give you a hot take right there, and this might cause some comments on your in the comment section of the podcast. I don't even think LeBron's top five. Mm, yeah,
Yeah,
I don't think LeBron's top five. But we'll get in. I mean, because you gotta think, you got Larry Bird.
yeah. He wouldn't
Then
be on
then
my
you,
starting five if I had to create like my ultimate fantasy team. I don't think I would put him on my team. Um,
I, I,
Actually,
I
I know I
couldn't put
wouldn't.
him.
I know
Yeah,
I
I
wouldn't.
couldn't put him as top five. I couldn't do that. I
I'll
mean,
tell you this.
you you got to think of people who actually came on the court and took over the game, and
Right.
who you could count on to play every single minute of that game and give you quality minutes.
Yeah.
Now,
I mean, look at
for
Michael
me,
Jordan, the flu game. I mean, that alone tells you how good of a player he is. The guy was
absolutely,
deathly sick and
and
went
then
out there and
you want
performed.
to take into consideration load management. These players don't play 82 games like Michael did.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Michael was out there every minute, almost every second of every game. He was out there. Minutes played. I know he was up in the top 10 when he retired. I mean, there's a reason why
Absolutely.
he was one of the best of all time, and not, in my opinion, he is the greatest of all time. A lot of people will say like Kobe. Some people, maybe younger generations, will say LeBron. I mean, they're all household names, but if I had to pick a top five, LeBron's not on my top five, and that's because I would pick Kobe and Jordan. I would have them switch off between the two, three, and Dennis Rodman would be on my team because I'm a huge Dennis Rodman fan,
Greatest rebounder ever.
and I would have him at my power forward just because of that reason alone. Honest to God, truth, I would because he's just that good, and that's just me. And I would like again, where would LeBron fit on my team? He wouldn't because I wouldn't have him on my team. Yeah, I could put Kobe and Jordan at the guard positions, but no, I wouldn't. Maybe I'm a little bit biased with the whole Dennis Rodman because I'm a Pistons fan, and that's one of my favorite players growing up was Dennis Rodman. But I just love the way he played, and I know if I need a rebound, he's gonna get it.
Absolutely. Greatest rebounder ever.
Oh, for
I'll
sure.
I'll
Did you
say it
hear about
again.
Rodney Rogers? I don't know if you're familiar with that name.
I did see that he passed.
Yeah, that was sad. 54 years of age. I was just blown away by that. I mean, he wasn't like a big name, but he was a six-man winner. Back in the day with the Suns.
a lot of people fail to realize um it doesn't matter if it's a big name or not. It takes skill to get to the NBA. Like, for
Yep.
example, I want to say we've got a hometown hero here. His name is Mac McClone.
Oh
He's
yeah,
from Gate City.
I didn't
He
know
has
that.
been bounced. He's been Yeah, Gate City, Virginia. He's been bounced from team to team to team to
Yeah,
team to team, but he will not give up. He
he's still
still
pursuing
plays.
it. Yeah,
So it's just like it's not enough to get to the NBA. You got to have some talent to stay and play
yeah.
in the NBA.
And to be on a team for over 10 years, it's you did something right, or you were doing something right. In any sport, really. Baseball included, to make it to the big leagues. That is,
Oh
you
yeah.
know, granted, baseball has single A, double A, so technically those are considered professional. But I'm considering like Major League Baseball or even Japan, like to have a long career. And I made a post about it because I just found out today that he passed away. I think he passed away yesterday. And it was kind of sad because I said something along the lines of, the people that we grew up watching are slowly passing away, and it's sad. Dikembe Mutombo comes to mind. He just passed away last year. And that one kind of broke my heart because I love that "No, no, no, not in my house" commercial that he did.
Oh yeah. That's I like Mount Matumbo, but
Yeah,
one of my favorite moments, and again, you talk about Mike being the GOAT. Mike dunking over Matumbo and
that
Mike
was
shaking his
awesome.
finger at him.
Yeah, that was
That
that was
was
awesome. That was classic. Nobody's gonna ever top that dunk
nobody,
on
nobody.
Mutombo.
And then Mike dunking over Patrick Ewing. Yeah, I mean, I got to see a lot of great basketball
You
growing
did,
up. But like,
yes. Me too. Me too. Patrick Ewing with the Knicks. Knicks had
yeah,
some players. John Starks was an excellent 3-point shooter.
I just don't understand. I mean, and don't get me wrong. new age listeners that love the Steph Curry and love the 3 pointer. I love Steph Curry's game. I love the fact that he can shoot. But if we're being honest, Steph Curry hurt the NBA because he wants to pull up from half court, and then everybody else wants to do what Steph
Yeah,
does, and
exactly.
then
Yep.
now the league's just watered down with just threes.
And you're right. You're seeing it more and more and more, and it's like almost like you have to be even at a 7 foot center. You have to be able to hit threes. And it's like I was watching a game and I was like, "There's literally nobody in the post." I was watching the Kings and somebody just yesterday. I can't remember who they were playing. Was it Denver? And literally, there was nobody in the post for a good 20, 30 seconds in the game.
All these big men want to shoot threes like Steph Curry.
Yeah, and
I
I'm just
mean,
like, why? Like, play the game like it used to. But then I'm like, they call more fouls now too, so that kind of
yeah.
doesn't help.
But Mike's the reason that they invented the handshake.
Yeah. Yep.
You couldn't stop him, and that he was the cerebral assassin.
Yeah.
The black they called him the Black Cat. They called him Black Jesus. They called that man everything.
I mean, you look at the era that he played in, and let's just be honest. Some of the greatest players at their positions were around, and I mentioned Dennis Rodman. I mean, he
Hmm.
wasn't a great scorer by any means. Don't get me wrong, but he's going to go out there. He'll get you, 4, maybe 6 points and 25 rebounds and a couple of blocks in there. And then you got like players like Shaquille O'Neal, who was pretty dominant for a big guy. You know, that era was such an amazing time. Penny Hardaway. Granted, I know he has some injuries. Tim Hardaway, the run TMC and Golden State was amazing to watch. And then you started seeing some players come in that actually kind of showed some more skills, like Amari Stoudemire, when the Suns were that run and gun team with Steve Nash, Barbosa. I liked watching that. That was exciting to watch. They kind of ran a small team, and
Sean Marion, the Matrix.
yeah,
I
and
mean,
they
yeah,
used yeah they had
there
some
was all
amazing.
kinds of good players.
Yeah, and like I said, this was in an era that was just you really you really had to be there to enjoy real good basketball. Like I mentioned, the Knicks they had all these great players. Allen Houston, a great scorer, no doubt about it. They had Larry Johnson, a pretty beastie dude. Patrick Ewing,
Grandmama.
yeah, and great coaching even at that too. And they could never beat the Bulls. It was just never going to happen. And then you look at some of the other teams that were around. Look at Seattle; they had some players. The Seattle Supersonics or Sonics, Gary
Yep.
Payton,
The
um,
Glove.
the glove,
Sean
yeah.
Kemp,
Sean
the
Kemp
Rain
was
Man.
oh man, he was a beast. And
Detlef Shrimp.
Detlef Shrimp, yeah, they had some other players that were kind of in and out there. I remember a guy named Sam Perkins, Vin Baker, and
Oh
two
yeah.
two big men that were pretty solid for them. And I mean, there was so much talent in Houston. You had Akeem Olajuwon.
Sam
Um,
Cassell, Robert Ory,
yeah,
Vernon Maxwell.
Clyde Drexler was around. And
Yep.
there was so much talent that I mean, compare it to today's era. There's no comparison. Dominic Wilkins with the Atlanta Hawks. Just a prime example. Like a lot of people think of him as a Showtime dunker. I mean, the guy scored a lot of points in his career.
Yeah, he could shoot too besides
Yeah,
dunk.
and he did a lot of things. It's just more people know him for his dunking, but he was a pretty solid player. And then I think about like the Magic, as I mentioned, Penny Hardaway and Shaq. They had a great team there, and of course, injuries with Penny kind of cut his career. I wouldn't say short because he had a long career. He was just always hurt. And then Shaq left and went to Los Angeles, and then that's where Kobe came along. Who, ironically, Kobe was drafted by Charlotte and traded for Vlade
You
Divac.
you being a Pistons fan, I mean, I'm surprised you didn't bring up Grant Hill.
Yeah, no, I mean, we had Grant Hill, Jerry Stackhouse, Joe Dumars when I first started watching Joe Dumars, and Dennis Rodman. They had some big players, and I didn't really get into it until like the early '90s, and that was when they were kind of coming out of the bad boy era. Isaiah Thomas, don't get me wrong, he was a goat for us. We had a lot of great players during that time frame, and Grant Hill, of course, he another guy that had injuries, but still had a solid career. I mean, he played until 40. And then all of a sudden you started seeing the ties change. You got Tim Duncan. He had a great career. Kevin Garnett. There was a lot of great players that were playing in Jordan's era. And people tend to sleep on that. If you put LeBron in that era, he's not going to have the success he has in this era.
Oh, there's no way.
And
There's
I'm
no
not
way.
dogging these players. I'm not, for the record, I'm not dogging any of these players because I think they're all great in their own way. I like watching Anthony Edwards. I think he's very entertaining. I think he's very good. Jimmy Butler had some great moments a few years ago. I know he's getting kind of older. Steph Curry, as you mentioned, great scorer. Nothing against these guys. They're all great players in their own right. But LeBron in today's era is able to dominate because he didn't have to compete with the Karl Malones, and I didn't mention that name. And
Charles Barkley.
Charles Barkley, another guy that I don't think LeBron could have handled that, because
There's no way he could have handled that. And they
Charles was
say,
wild.
and then they say, well, LeBron's a big guy. LeBron's a big. I'm telling you,
He's a
so
big
was Charles
bitch.
Barkley. So was Charles Barkley. Charles Barkley, banged down low.
Well, you know
Karl
what?
Malone banged down low.
We
Those
talked
guys
about it.
ruled. Those
Larry
guys
Johnson.
ruled the paint.
Larry Johnson would not allow him to do anything.
Then you bring up Larry Johnson. What about Alonzo Mourning?
Oh, Alonzo Mourning
When-
too. Great.
Yeah, see,
I mean, look at the
there's a
Hornets they had some
lot of good players.
Yeah.
A lot of good
they're-
players.
Yeah, all these guys that we're mentioning are Hall of Fame quality players. Alonzo
Mhm.
kind of had injuries. I don't think he's in. Larry Johnson, I don't think he had the success that the Hall of Fame looked for, but they were all-star caliber players. There's no denying that. But there was
Yeah, they
just so
weren't
much
scrubs.
talent.
Exactly.
Scottie Pippen was around. You had all these guys that were, competing for the All-Star game even. And even in the All-Star games were way better to watch.
Yeah.
And I'm
All-Star
not-
games were way better to watch
Yeah.
back in the 90s.
Yeah, now it's just like watching the Pro Bowl, it's not even worth watching.
Yeah.
Again, I'm not taking away anything from the players from today. I'm not saying they're not talented. I'm just saying there's not very many players, if anybody, that could last. The one guy I think that would have been fun to watch is Draymond Green from the Warriors. I think I would have liked to watch him go against Dennis Rodman. I mean, that's just me.
That's this modern era Dennis Rodman, Draymond
Exactly.
Green.
I would
Yes,
love to see them go
exactly.
head to head in
Yeah,
their prime.
they
I would love
they
that.
are very, very similar. Very,
Yeah.
very
The
similar.
only thing that Draymond has on Dennis is he can shoot threes like nobody's business for a big man. But Dennis Rodman plays such good defense, I wouldn't even worry.
Look,
You-
I was when he was a Bull and whenever he made threes, I was happy. I was always rooting, jumping up and down whenever he made threes. Because Dennis didn't really score much.
No, exactly.
So
he wasn't a
when
scorer,
he made
yeah.
a three, and he done his points, or he grabbed the
Right.
loose ball, or he laid the ball up, I was happy for him. I was
Yeah.
happy. I rooted for the worm.
And then every time he would dive into the crowd to try to save the ball, man, there's something about him I just idolize. And the fact that he wore a number that nobody wore with the Bulls, 91, I mean,
Yeah,
just absolutely tells you like the character he had. He didn't really care about like his statistics and all that. He was a definite bad boy, and he was an amazing athlete. I loved watching him. Even in wrestling, I loved it when he would, perform with the WCW with Hulk Hogan and all that. And again, I'm a diehard Pistons fan. I was rooting for the Bulls all throughout the 90s just because Dennis Rodman was my favorite player. I liked Horace Grant too. I thought he was pretty solid too. Another guy
if
we
we're
didn't
being
mention.
if we're being honest, I hated Dennis Rodman until he became a Bull, because this was the simple fact he was physical.
Yeah.
He was physical, and
Yep.
during the bad boy Piston era, when we were playing Detroit, man, they would throw Michael to the ground like he was a rag doll. That you hear the whole Hack-a-Shack defense when it comes to Shaq, but they actually did that first to Mike.
Yeah, no, for sure. 100%. And the bad boys were notorious for it. In fact, John Sally made a comment like it was like their intentions to hurt Michael because he was that damn good.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's, again, LeBron in that era doesn't shine. And I'm not taking nothing away from LeBron. I think he's a great athlete. He's definitely a better basketball player than I could ever be. And who am I? But I'm guaranteeing you put LeBron, let's say 93 to, whatever, he does not have any success like he did during this time frame that he's in.
People always want to say, well, LeBron has this record, LeBron has that record, LeBron has owns this stat, LeBron has that stat. I'm just gonna throw. I'm gonna throw a few. I'm just gonna throw some numbers out there, and this is for all the LeBron sexuals, the LeBron sexuals. You
Actuals.
know, I like to call them. Okay,
Okay.
LeBron sexuals. Listen to this. Listen to this stat. Michael Jordan is 11-0 in all of his championship games. He's never lost a championship game. He's never had to go to a game 7 in championship games. This man is undefeated. He has 12 championship rings. LeBron, you only have 5. You don't have a college. You don't have none of that. You don't even you have led the league in scoring how many times? Okay. The debate is over and done with.
Right.
Bron Sexuals, listen to me. He's good. LeBron is good. I'll give you that. But no way did he change the game like Michael Jordan
And
did.
exactly that. Michael Jordan innovated the game and made it fun to watch. Really. And I'm not taking nothing away from the players from the 80s, but the 80s kind of was dry in basketball there for a little while. Don't Moses Malone had a great career. There was a lot of great players in that time frame, and I can name a bunch. But when Michael came about, all of a sudden the league got hot, and it got hot fast. I mean, remember Michael with the gold chain? Like nobody ever talks about that Michael.
Nope.
And then like looking at the players that came around during that time frame, Scottie Pippen, as I mentioned earlier. We mentioned Dennis Rodman. I mean, I can name pretty much the whole team of the Bulls. I couldn't name the whole team of the Pistons. You guys had Tony Kukoc. You guys had Luke Longley, Bill Wellington,
Bill Winnington. Yep.
Winnington. I mean, look. I mean, I just named all these players, and I can name Grant Hill, Jerry Stackhouse, Joe Dumars. Let's see.
Vinnie Johnson, Mark Aguirre.
Yeah, Mark McGuire. Yeah, I forget about. Yeah, some of these guys I kind of forgot about because they're just not in there forever. And of course I said Isaiah Thomas. I didn't really get to see him play much because when I started watching basketball, it was his last year.
Now, I have a little bit of a beef with the whole Isaiah Thomas thing, and with Zeke, like you
Okay.
guys like to call him. I get that his competitive nature with Mike, and you guys didn't like us, and we didn't like you guys, and Zeke felt slighted because of the whole 92, because of the whole Dream Team thing, where Mike decided, hey, but the reason that came about was because where Zeke wouldn't shake Mike's hand after
Right.
we beat you guys. He decided to make a fuss about it, say, if he can't shake my hand and be a decent teammate, then I don't even want him on Team USA with me, and that's why they snubbed Zeke from Team USA.
I mean, did they need
I
him?
feel like
I mean, just
no, they
saying,
didn't.
they
They ran
definitely
rough.
didn't need
They
him.
ran roughshod on everybody,
And
but
this
still,
is coming
Zeke.
from a Pistons fan, for the record. I agree with like, but you also know me. Like, I'm a big like things like that. Like, really irritate me, and it's like it really shows your character, who you are. Like, I understand you're passionate about winning, but at the end of the day, you still should be respectful. Like, if me and you were playing in a game and you guys beat us, and yeah, I might cry because I'm upset because we're not going to be in the championship or we didn't win the championship, whatever it may be. But I know I still would shake your guys' hands because hey, it was still a good game. You guys showed up, we didn't. And
Sportsmanship.
I hate that poor
Sportsmanship. Yes.
I hate poor sportsmanship with a passion. I love seeing these stories, and I think that's why like Jameis Winston is somebody I love. And I mentioned this earlier, and I'm going to say it here. I'm a diehard Lions fan, but I'm more than okay if the Lions lost today. I don't even know if they lost. They were losing when I looked last, but because Jameis Winston was starting, and I'm a huge Jameis Winston fan just because he's a competitor, but he also cares about playing. Like he cares about everybody. He's a very I seen him hugging and opposing teams and giving them dabs and saying, "Hey man, you're great. Keep doing what you're doing. I like you." And this is coming from a guy that kind of had. I mean, how do you say it? I mean, he got passed up because the Buccaneers brought in Tom Brady.
Yeah, he got the raw end of the deal,
Yeah, and I
and
I, I hate that. He should have worked with Tom Brady. He could have learned a lot from Tom Brady.
he could have, but in the same sense, it's one of those we don't know the politics.
Yeah.
and then they were also bringing in another coach at that time
Right.
too. So, and when the coach actually comes into an organization, they don't want someone who's already there. They want to bring in their guy. So that way,
Yeah.
if something happens and they get looked at on the hot seat, they also won't. They also have that. Well, you didn't let me begin my coaching tenure with my guy. I had to do with what I had to do with.
Right.
And ultimately that's what happened to Brian Daboll this year. That's why
Yeah.
he got let go.
Yeah.
He didn't get to draft his own quarterback. They drafted it for him. And then finally he gets to get his guy Jackson Dart, but then he doesn't necessarily get to play with him much, and then they start losing and they say, "Well, we got to make a change." And of course, who they're going to point the blame on? They'll always point the blame on the
The
head
coach.
coach.
Yeah. It sucks, you know. Again, I mean, I'm not rooting for the Giants all the way, but I am rooting for Winston just because I love his personality. I wish that another team like the Saints would give him a chance, or even the Raiders, because the Raiders could use him. A lot of teams could use a quarterback like him, and he could start on a few teams right now. It's just
Yeah,
sad. It's sad. But again, you know, for the record, you guys, I don't think LeBron James is a top 5 player either, because I wouldn't put him on my top 5 team. If I had to pick 5 players, he would not make my team. And I'm just throwing that out there before I forget. I had to throw
I
that in there.
totally agree. I agree on that. There's just, I mean, if you look at the quality of the NBA players, and then you look and you are building your starting five, you want the best players out there that will give you the best chance of winning the game.
Correct.
You want the best players that can dominate if some players having an off night. And to me, I don't think LeBron is not that guy. I don't feel he's that guy.
I 100% agree. And again, LeBron's definitely better than me. There's no denying that. I'm not even
And
I'm barely over 6 foot, so I couldn't
and
even.
when and when a Laker legend, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, when a Laker legend says, and this guy has scored a lot of points.
Yes.
This guy has won some championships. This guy had a move made after him. So when someone who played for the same franchise you played for says that you are not even top five, you got to agree with that. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar said he's not top five either. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar says that he he's that Mike is the goat, and that's just the way it is. He would have to say he even said that Kobe is over LeBron. So I mean, I
And
agree.
I agree 100%. I mean, you look at work ethic, like you said, you work at the winning side of things. Kobe Bryant was a very good worker, and he played hard to the last minute. But Michael was that, but a little bit better, and that's why I always say Michael's number one. A lot of people will say, it's close. To me, it's not really. I look at Michael as literally the greatest player, and again, it might be because of my era. Like I grew up watching these guys, but I can honestly say that Michael Jordan, he kind of gets, you know, he doesn't get the recognition he deserves. It's sad because he should be considered the greatest. There shouldn't even be any denying it. And if they had to change, let's say the NBA logo, I would make it to Michael Jordan.
Oh yeah, no disrespect to Jerry West.
Again, yeah, no disrespect at all to Jerry West. It's just if they did change it, because I've heard that there was talks of it. I don't remember who said it, but somebody made a comment about when Kobe died that they should make it him. And I'm not denying that. It was a very sad day when he died. I wouldn't be upset by it, but I think that Michael should be the guy. Because when I think of
Rest
NBA,
rest in peace, Kobe Bean Bryant.
yes, for sure. I'm not a Lakers fan. I hate the Lakers, but I respected
Not a
the
Lakers
hell out
fan
of that
either.
guy. He was an amazing player to watch. I do miss watching the Lakers with him on it. I would have loved to actually go to a Lakers game to see him play just because he was that damn good. But I hated the Lakers, so I could never, in all good heart, go see a Lakers game.
I mean, I agree. I totally agree. That would be like the equivalent of you going to watch a Dodgers game.
Yeah, I couldn't do it. I could not do it unless it was the Giants and Dodgers. Then I could, but yeah. So that's good to know. I kind of had a feeling that the Bulls were your favorite team just because you know it's just kind of the vibe I got. Not a bad way, in a good way. The
Oh
White
yeah,
Sox, great franchise in their own right. Historic. I mean, when I think of the White Sox, some of the players that come to mind, I think of like Frank Thomas. Because that's who I remember seeing.
the Big Hurt,
The Big Hurt.
my favorite, my favorite White Sox player ever.
Okay. I would say I wouldn't say he was mine because I'm a little partial to Ray Durham, and that was before
Ray Durham was pretty good.
that was before he even played for the Giants. For the record, I liked him on the White Sox. In fact, and my favorite all-time baseball game is Triple Play '99, and every time I would play, I'd always make sure Ray Durham was on my team. I loved Ray Durham. He was always one of my favorite players, but. That's just me. I don't know what it was about him. I just like watching him play. He was a good player for you guys too. Yeah.
Triple play was good. I really didn't play many baseball games growing up. I played more of the basketball games. When
The
of
NBA
course
Live.
NBA Live was great. NBA Live was great. I mean, now I'm kind of mad that NBA Live fell off, and then now 2K is but because in my and this is unpopular. This is my unpopular opinion. I really think that NBA Live made a better. I really think that EA made a better basketball game than 2K Sports did.
I
Because
agree.
now I'm gonna be honest with you. Now it's just all about microtransactions,
Yeah.
and that's why I can't stand 2K. That's why I stopped playing 2K.
I
I
remember
haven't played 2K, I believe, since 23.
I remember I think it was 2019 that NBA Live came out with the game, and I bought it, man, and I loved it. And then I bought
Yeah.
NBA 2K20 because there was no live, and I was like, "Oh."
You hear the disappointment in your voice. You're
Yeah,
like,
it
oh,
was it was I don't wanna say it was mediocre, but it really was, and
the disappointment is real.
I do
By the way,
like
you guys won.
I do like the 2019 they had that governor story with Big Tex. I really like that. But the storyline for the 2K's like GM mode, I guess you could call it, I love that. But NBA Live just the gameplay was so smooth. I loved it. I remember my favorite NBA Live game is 2003. That's the one with Jason Kidd on the cover. I just love that game. I had to buy it like 3 times because I kept overplaying it on the PlayStation. I still have a copy of it to this day.
Oh well, that's great.
Yeah.
I, I don't even the last time. Oh wow, the last live I played was I think it was Ben Wallace was on the cover.
I don't even know what
Was it Ben Wallace or I think it was Ben? Yeah, I think it was Ben Wallace.
I know he was on the cover of 2K5, and that was my favorite.
Was wasn't he on the live cover too?
I wouldn't be surprised because he was pretty popular. Even I know he wasn't one of my favorite players. I liked watching him play, but just because he kind of reminded me like the Dennis Rodman where he got all the rebounds, blocks, and didn't score much. But
He was a good defensive player.
I
Ben
love
Wallace
that
was a really
that
good
that
defensive player.
afro always cracked me up every time I would see it. That shit was long. But yeah,
Yeah,
he was a good player to watch too. But again, he wasn't one of my favorites. I wouldn't put him on my top 5 team, and that's coming from a guy that grew up in that or what got really into basketball then.
tons of good players. Like we didn't even scratch the surface of we didn't even scratch the surface of the Chris Webber.
Oh
We
yeah,
didn't even we didn't even talk about we didn't talk about Chris Webber. None of that stuff. There was a
yeah.
lot of good players.
I mean,
Vince
yeah.
Carter.
You talk about like we talk about All Star games. It was a privilege back then if you made the All Star game because there was just that much talent. If you were picked, you were doing something right.
Yep.
I was listening to an interview recently. Terry Porter is his name. He was a former Portland Trailblazer, and he was a one-time All-Star. They were asking him like, what was it like to play in that era? He goes, I don't know how I was an All-Star. He goes, there was so much talent. There were so many players that were just that good, and he was talking about like he named off like Tim Hardaway because he was a point guard, and he's just started naming off all these guys, John Stockton and all these guys that he was playing with or against, and then got to play with them in the All Star game. He said that John Stockton drove him wild because he was the biggest trash talker. And I was like,
Yeah,
little
John.
John Stockton, I didn't know that.
Yeah, that when I found out that about him, I was like, "Whoa, wait a minute!
Yeah,
This guy looks like he's the quietest guy on the damn court."
yeah, and
But yeah, he was one of the biggest trash talkers in the game. I was like, "Oh, okay."
I didn't know that at
But then,
all.
but I also didn't know that Larry Bird was as bad as a trash talker as he was
Oh
too.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, they say that this man would walk you down the court, and he said, "Hey, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do this. Go over here to the corner at this right spot, and then hit you with my left hand, and it's gonna be nothing but net." And he would do that.
yeah,
And they, I mean, Kevin Garnett said that man, Larry Bird was the coldest trash talker he ever seen.
yeah.
And I
That's
love Kevin Garnett.
He's another trash talker. I love watching him
Oh
play.
yeah,
Oh, I
yep,
loved watching him play. He was a pretty good forward for the T Wolves in the back in the day, and then did good with
big ticket.
Boston. He did good with Boston. They won a championship with Ray Allen, another guy we didn't mention, Paul Pierce. I mean, there's so many
Yep,
players that we didn't mention that
so
are
many good
legends.
players.
Yeah.
So many good players.
So what was what was it like to go from Chicago further? You said you went south. What was that transition like for you, looking at it now from an older perspective? Do you think it
It
was?
was
Oh, go
it
ahead.
was different. It was different. Like I'm not gonna lie, Chicago being a big city, Chicago
Right.
always having something to do, and then going south, and you're looking at things. You're going to a whole different culture, different vibe, and at first it was weird, but then again it was just great after that because Southern hospitality is awesome. You know, I'm not gonna lie. In Chicago, you get a lot of people who are ignorant. You
Yeah.
get a lot, for lack of better words, you get a lot of people who are ignorant, and then they necessarily look at you like you're either trying to do something or you want something for them. In the South, it's way different. Like if for example, if you're on the side of the road, you look and you got a flat tire, you're more likely to get help down here than you would back home, which being back home being Chicago. But
Yeah.
like, you know, people down here are more observant and they're more geared towards, a hand up instead of a hand out type of thing. You
Okay.
know, they'll actually try to help you instead of thinking that you're trying to get something for free and for something in return for nothing. It's very different, but it's great though. Southern people are wonderful, but don't get me wrong. There's some there's some there's some few bad apples here, just like there are everywhere
Oh yeah,
else.
for sure. I mean, you guys have Cheddar B in that area.
We won't talk. No, Cheddar B's actually he's near the Knoxville area.
Okay.
That guy, he's all right.
He is. He's a good dude. I like him.
He's been through some things, but he actually, I don't know. Maybe he's actually thought about some things, and he's changed some of his ways. But he's all right. I mean,
Yeah.
I
No,
don't.
he's a good
I was
person.
I was always raised. Don't hold a grudge.
Right.
If people do things, if people have done bad things to you, then maybe there's a reason they've done bad things to you. You know, um, you always you always want to see them eat, but they can't eat at your table anymore. You can't eat. I want to see you eat,
Right.
but you can't eat with me. You can't eat with me because you ruined that.
Yeah,
I just
Cheddar's a
I
good
just
dude. I joke about him, but I just know because you guys have a unique bond. Um, you know, I
we're all right. We're all right. Speaking of Cheddar, I've before I fell asleep last night, I popped in his TikTok live,
oh, he's
and
on
he was playing.
TikTok. That's probably why I don't.
He's on TikTok. I popped in his TikTok live. I was the only viewer in there, and I told him the Eagles suck, and that's about. I stayed for a couple minutes and then I left.
I'll have to
He's all
make
right
sure.
though.
Yeah, I'll have to make sure I give him a follow. I didn't know he was on TikTok. I honestly just thought he quit streaming altogether.
Same name on TikTok.
Okay, I'll have to give him a follow. Make sure I follow him. And again, nothing against him. I just know you guys have that bond, like me and King,
Yeah.
kind of have. You guys.
No, hold on. You guys have a bond. We have a dysfunctional friendship.
Is that what it's called?
We'll call that
Well,
the
that's more like me and
dysfunctional
Nambo.
friendship.
Then that's like me and Nambo.
No,
No,
no, no, because you get along with Nambo. You never had any quarrel where you wanted to you know punch Nambo's lights out.
no, that's true. Yeah, Nambo's pretty.
So, but now
Nambo makes me
the
laugh too
stuff
much.
the stuff with me and Cheddar Bob, we're all right. We're good. We're good.
Yeah, and again, he's a good guy. I have no issues with him. I just know that you guys have your little dysfunctional friendship, like you said.
Yeah, there we go.
But yeah, so
Dysfunctional.
you mentioned transitioning and all that. What was school like for you going from Chicago to down south?
School was actually a little bit better. I didn't have to worry about getting jumped in the schoolyard by a lot of people and people trying to steal my dang shoes and all this other good stuff. I didn't have to worry about that. Um, School was, I want to say I was a little bit advanced because by the time I passed my grade and I was going into middle school, I actually got skipped up a grade because I was that intelligent.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so that's a little fun fact about me. I play dumb, but I'm not dumb.
No, you don't play dumb. Not in my eyes.
Yeah, we all gotta play dumb so that way these people
Yeah, yeah.
who
They don't.
try to get one over on you're one step ahead of them.
That's true. Yeah, sometimes you gotta manipulate them, and
It's not necessarily manipulate. It's just necessarily play the game so that the game don't play you.
that's true. That's true. You don't want to get caught in that for sure.
Exactly. So you mentioned some games. Have you been playing anything good lately? Have you played any
I won't
you finished
lie.
this season battle pass in
Oh,
Fortnite,
I
or
did for sure.
you been
I am like level 125, but I do a lot of Lego. I
ah
love Lego Fortnite. I play it right before I go to bed, and it's just so relaxing to me. I could just sit there, play it, and just relax. And then once the edible kicks in, I'm going to bed. You know,
I've been XP glitching, so I believe I'm pretty high up there too. I know I'm over level 100. Let's see. I'll double check real quick.
yeah. When I last looked, it was 125. But I'll be honest, the only games I really have been playing, it
I'm
sounds
122.
sounds so bad what I'm about to say. Even though there's a new Pokemon that just came out and I have it, I have yet to play it. I've had it for three
Oh,
weeks,
how could you? How could
but
you?
I've been
That's not
playing.
like you.
I started, so this is what I did. I played Pokemon Red. Now I'm on Pokemon Blue. And then I'm probably just gonna skip after Pokemon Blue and go straight to Pokemon Legends ZA. But there's been a lot of things going on with Maddie because she's been having a lot of therapies and stuff. So I've been making sure that I spend more time with her because when she's in her therapies, I can't be in there because it's just too many people in a little room. Well, not really a
Right.
little room, but it's you have like 5 adults and I'm a big boy. It's just easier for me not to be in there. So I've been spending a lot of time with her and whatnot. Plus, working overnights is not fun. It makes it harder. But that's the reason why I haven't played it. It's just
Yeah, kudos to you. I don't know if I could do the graveyard thing. You're way better than I am. I tried that once in my work career.
it's the
Um,
pay is amazing. I mean, to make
the pay is not bad. I mean, you get a little bit they do compensate a little bit better financially for that, but I just couldn't do it. Like going to work when it's dark and then trying to go back home and go to sleep when daylight. Nah, my body's like, hell nah, let's go get stuff done. It's
Yeah,
daytime. It's daylight.
exactly. And it makes it hard when, with relationships, like friendships and stuff, and like, not, it just sucks because like, like for example, like Smoke wants to play, and he messaged me, "Hey man, I see you're online. You want to run some games?" And it's like 1:30. I'm like, "Bro, I'm about to go to bed." Like, and it
Yeah.
sucks, because I love playing with you guys and I miss it. But I also know that like, it's one of those things that yeah, it does suck, but I know that I'm doing what's right for the family. You know what I mean?
Shout out to David. Here comes one of his sayings: "Real life over game life."
Exactly, and yeah, and something we mentioned in the podcast that we covered with him. The last podcast was with him actually. Technically, Duke will actually be posted tomorrow. So by the time yours airs, it's going to be in 2 weeks. I'm trying to get as many podcasts done before Christmas. I have Elite
Dope.
Player. I don't know if you're familiar with him.
Henry,
Henry, yeah,
great guy.
wonderful,
Great guy.
wonderful.
King of the stop and go. King of the
Yeah.
stop and
You
go.
know what he told me the other day, and I'm not gonna try to cry when I say this, but he told me he said that he messaged me. He goes, "I just want you to know something, man. You're an amazing person. I am forever grateful to meet somebody like you." And I was like,
Yes,
"Wow."
you are. He was right.
I was like, "Wow." It almost made me cry. Like I mean, even thinking of it now, I'm just like trying not to cry. But yeah, it was amazing, and it was like I didn't even know I needed to hear that, and it made me feel so much better, and it made me realize, hey, I got a lot.
Listen,
I got a lot to be grateful for. There's a lot of people
listen,
on my back.
listen. Accept your flowers. Accept your flowers, and it's good that a lot of these great people, a lot of these good content creators.
Yeah,
The Taddies, the Dukes, the elite players. You know, I know you still talk to CLE.
yeah.
I know you still talk to the guy in Tampa. I won't say his name. You know what I'm
I
saying? Because
haven't actually.
you don't
Over
talk to him,
over like I mean, he
but
messaged me like not too long after they had a baby, and I think the baby is
right,
like a year old now.
right. But just regardless, like you are a great guy. You know what I'm saying? And I'm glad that a lot of us out here still keep in contact with you, still make an effort to talk to you, and that we give you your flowers because it's very important that we give you your flowers while you're here and not while you're gone.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
it's like I
appreciate
made
that.
that post. It's like I made that post the other day on Facebook, and I don't really post much because this is my original account was hacked because
Right.
I used to do the content creator like you, not as much, not as successful as you or the Tattids, the Dukes. Shout out to those two guys, by the way. Great guys, great guys, great family guys, great guys who have morals, great
One of them
values.
is great. One of them. No,
Well,
I'm joking. I
look, we
love them
should we
all.
shouldn't talk we shouldn't talk about Duke like that. We shouldn't talk about Duke's skills on sticks like that.
Yeah,
By the
nah.
way, I've beaten him in Madden before too. I mean, yeah, it was one of my crowning achievements. I've beat him before in Madden, so I'll take that. But no, he's a great guy. I actually miss all that camaraderie. If we're being honest,
Yeah.
I miss that streaming camaraderie. But
It's
it's
crazy,
changed. The whole
man. The
the
whole
whole land,
yeah, everything.
yeah, the whole landscape of Facebook gaming has changed.
And I was talking about it with
Um,
Duke. Like some of the people that I loved watching, and I'm not saying I don't love like Black Ice X because I do, but like Korean Gaming, she just fell off. The gaming grunt, he's no longer streaming. And these are people I was watching on a day to day basis, and it's like I don't have them anymore. And it's just wild. Like I know Gaming Grunt, he has a lot of stuff going on with his personal life and whatnot. And nothing bad. It is what it is. It sucks. Karina, I haven't talked to her. Oh gosh, like I messaged her and she reads my messages, but she never gets back to me. Let's see here.
I saw her on Kick a while back, but like that's the last time I seen her.
The last time she
Um,
messaged me was uh March 23rd of 2023.
wow, almost 2 years.
Yeah. And I messaged her a few times. It was like I was setting up I set up a customs back in 2024 January. She read all of my messages, and I was trying to set up a few things, and I messaged her about possibly wanting to play Fortnite. She read it, never responded. I'm not mad. I mean, I'm sure she's busy. I don't ever see her in anybody's streams ever,
Yeah.
and I was just
Life
like,
life takes you different directions, you know what I'm
yeah.
saying? Like,
And again, like you mentioned, these amazing people that we were following. I'm so thankful that I got to know their real names because, oh man, I don't know what I would do if I didn't ever actually meet some of them. Another one that I don't talk to as much as I would like is Rob Todd. Even though we gamed with him like a month ago,
yeah.
I love Rob Todd and I don't talk to him much. It's just
Shout
I message
shout
him.
shout out to uh shout out to Champ. I can't forget
Oh
Champ.
yeah, Champ. Oh, I talk to him on a regular basis, at least once a
Can't
week,
forget Champ.
at least.
Gotta give shout out to David. Um,
Yes. Yeah, no, Mr. Black Ice X Entertainment. Another guy that I'm thankful is in my life. One of my moderators, even I'm so blessed to have the team that I have with him. Stony Loki, we didn't talk about her.
Shout
She's
out Jasmine.
yeah, Jasmine's a wonderful person. And even like I'm never gonna call her new name. I never will. But Shadow Lady, I miss all of it. I miss
Oh,
it all.
shout shout out Cherie too.
Yeah, I miss all of them. King Uno, man, he was amazing to watch, and I always tell people like a friend of mine, his name's Mikey, and you've probably heard me mention him. He's the one that's
Yeah.
like he's trying to help with the giveaways, but he asked me like, who's a good content creator, and I said when I think of the content creating, I think of King Uno. Like he is truly a content creator, even though he only does TikTok and whatnot. He still is on there creating content and enjoying it, vibing out. And I love it. I actually enjoy his streams still. He does stream on Twitch and now and then with Madden 26. I have seen him lately streaming on there.
I haven't caught him.
Yeah.
I watch Twitch. I watch a couple streamers on Twitch. There's one guy I follow on Twitch. He's trash because he'll only play people 13 or under, and I tried to get him to play some of the people that we know. He's played Bacon one time.
Okay.
Bacon he beat Bacon. I mean, if I'm not mistaken, I think they played twice, and he beat Bacon once, and then Bacon beat him too. But like, I've been trying to get him to play other streamers. You know what I mean? But like, he just wants to play his lineup of who his handpicked opponents of who he can beat, so that way he can actually keep the content on there. I tell him I want to play him too, but he won't play me because
Scared, huh?
yeah, he won't play
I mean,
me.
to be
He won't
fair,
play me.
bro, the Packers are freaking OP, man. Jordan
Oh,
Love,
let's
the
not do that.
defense. That
He
defense?
plays with the Chiefs.
Yeah.
This guy plays with the Chiefs. Of course, and he's a speed merchant.
Oh,
So all you have to do
yeah.
is chuck the ball up to Xavier Worthy. But he cries to these kids about pass committing and all. Yeah, this guy's not that great. He's not that great.
We'll have to play Madden one day. I've never played you in Madden. It'd be a lot of fun just to play.
Yeah, we can play. We can play. I mean, I'm not pro level, but
Oh, it'd just be fun
I'm
just to
no
talk shit and play, like
I'm
we
no
always say.
slouch either, because I mean I've been trained by Champ, so I
Oh,
mean
shoot,
I can play a little
yeah,
bit.
you're gonna beat my ass, that's for sure. 'Cause Champ is freaking goated at Madden, man. I don't think he
Champ is
realizes
good.
how good he
He's really
is.
good. Yes,
He
yes, he
just,
is really good.
I think sometimes he overthinks. And I think that's what causes him to lose games is he overthinks the game because a lot of people they play it not the way that it should be played, and he's thinking of it from a strategic level where these other guys that he's playing against they don't think that way. They're just thinking deep balls and all this stuff. Where Champ he's playing smart football. He just gets beat because he's overthinking, in my opinion.
He's a very intelligent Madden player. Very
Very, very
intelligent.
well. He's a smart man. Period. I every
Yes, he
time
is.
every time we've talked on the phone, it's like very, very smart. Very, you could tell, and the way he words things is just like I think Maddie could understand what he's saying. Like it's amazing. Well, to get to you, um, I know something uh, about you that I kind of would like to touch on. I don't know when it happened. I just know of it, but you told me that your mom passed away. What age were you when that happened?
Uh, that was over 10 years ago. I was 37,
Okay.
36, 37.
And
Yeah.
how close were you to your mom prior, obviously?
Oh, my mom was my best friend. You know, touching on what we spoke about earlier. My mom played dual roles, mother and father. So,
Okay.
her playing dual roles of mother and father, she was very heavily leaned on, physically and mentally, and she guided me a lot through my life.
Okay. Now, what happened to your father, if you don't mind me asking? Because I didn't know nothing about your
Uh,
father.
oh well, I didn't know nothing about him either, so I guess we're both in the same boat. He was a deadbeat.
Same story with
Um,
me. I had never met my father. He passed away in 2008. And I'll never forget that phone call. A lady called me, a social worker called me, and she said, hi, I need to speak to, to you. And I was like, okay. She goes, do you know a David Myron Moore? And I said, yeah, that's my father, but I don't really know him. I just know the name. She goes, well, I have to inform you that he passed away back in May. And I was like, oh, did he owe any money? And she
so,
goes, no.
sorry to laugh at that.
No, but I mean, it's funny now. And I was like, okay, well, then sucks to be him. She goes, "Oh, okay." I was like, "I didn't know him, so don't take it the wrong way. I don't know him. I don't want nothing to do with him. So
Right.
I'm just gonna hang up." And I remember I called my mom and I told her, and she was just like, "Wow, that's wild." And then some years went by, and I had this inkling to just look it up, and I was curious to make sure, like, yeah, no, he passed away. And I was like, "Wow, it's crazy," because I never wanted to look into it, and there was a part of me that wanted to get to know him so I could show him, like, look what I have. Look what you never gave me. I did this on
Right.
my own. I never needed you. But I was
Right.
blessed. I had my grandpa, and then I had two wonderful stepdads that came in and stepped up more than they stepped as a dad. My first stepdad was my brother's real father, and I thought he was my biological father until I was about 8 years old. And then I found out he wasn't, and it broke my heart and it broke a lot of trust that I had. But luckily, I still had my grandpa, and my grandpa was my best friend. Like when I lost my virginity, that was the person I went to. you know, and like we would watch wrestling together. I remember watching like back in the Attitude Era, the Stone Cold Steve Austins, and me and him were just so into it. And then my mom met my current stepdad, who I don't even call him a stepdad. He is my father. I always introduce him. This is my father. I don't even tell them their name. This is my dad. I never. I'm bad about that. Like I'll introduce people to my mom. Like this is my mom, and then my mom will have to say, "Oh, my name's Barbara." like, and it's like I'm bad about that. But I
Right.
was blessed to have
Well,
a lot of great men in my life. So that to go back to that, like, what about your relationship with like maybe grandpas, uncles? Did you have anything like that?
my grandfather. Well, not really. My grandfather, I could remember. My grandfather was an immigrant. Okay,
Okay.
he actually came to America, was snuck over on a boat. Funny little fact about my grandfather: he actually knew Al Capone.
Oh wow, wild.
He actually knew Al Capone, and that's another reason why I ended up down here is because in the area that I'm at, they call it Little Chicago. Al Capone actually stayed in the area that I'm at right now. So and my grandfather loved it here. Funny little fact about my grandfather and my grandmother. Um, they both retired from Nabisco. The cookie company,
Right,
blah blah blah
right.
blah. Oreo, they retired from Nabisco. They worked 27 years and then retired from Nabisco, and then they moved down here. And then that's why my mom liked it here. But my mom then moved back to
Where
Chicago.
did they immigrate from? Immigrant from?
My grandfather immigrated from Italy.
Oh,
My
okay, that
grandmother,
makes
my
sense. I can see you being Italian. Okay, that makes sense.
yeah, my grandmother is actually from Harlan, Kentucky.
Okay.
Yeah,
I mean,
so
I was just curious about that because
it's all good.
male
Yeah.
figures.
Um,
I was just kind of
and male figures in my life, there was I mean, I didn't I mean, my mom did of course get remarried.
oh, okay,
She did get remarried a long time towards the end of her life. I think it was like 12 12 or 13 years. I think it was when I think it was I was 26.
okay,
She she married she married someone that my stepfather. He was cool. I mean, that I considered him as my dad, you know what I mean? Because he just grew on me.
right.
But it's at that time I had already been, without a male figure in my life, and my mom, she raised me right, you know what I'm saying?
Oh, for sure,
I know,
for sure.
I know how to treat treat a woman, because I grew up in a house full of them. So,
Yeah.
that's not necessarily, but I did have a father figure in my life. He wasn't the best because he came from the army. He was a drill sergeant, so you know how those type of guys like
Yeah.
to be. But
Yes.
I was already grown, so I wasn't gonna listen to him anyway. He was just he would just try to, try to tell me things, and my mom would cuss him out because my mom would be like, that's mine, that's my son. She would put him in his place real quick. My mom was yeah, my
You can tell
mom.
she was old fashioned just by the
Oh, my mom was a 5'2" Italian woman.
yeah.
You didn't play with her.
No, yeah. Italian women. I dated one and I was scared for my life, but I was like madly in love with her all at the same time. I like
I'll never forget. I got into an argument with my mom one time, and I was frustrated with what she was telling me, and I went to put my hands up just to be like, "Oh man, forget this," and then just walk away. She thought I was trying to hit her.
oh
She almost put me through the wall.
oh damn.
Yeah, she did not play.
Well,
She did not play. But
Italian
I
women are that
love
way.
that. Exactly. I love that woman. She was very strong.
Yes.
She gave me a lot of good wisdom. She raised me right. She raised me right.
For
And it's
sure.
it's
I
good
agree
to
with that.
it's good to have strong, good, positive women in your life.
Yes.
I know you've got one. Marsha's great.
Definitely
I have
agree.
I have I have one too.
Yeah.
I
I
have one
just
too.
recently found out that you had one. Not
Yep.
recent. It's been a while, but I know that she's been in that group chat talking and whatnot, and I find it funny. I like at first I was like, "Who the is this person?" Like I'm trying to figure
I
it
have
out.
one too. Shout out to Panda.
Yeah,
I won't say her I
no,
won't
I
say her
won't
real
either. I
name,
won't say
but
her name either. I just thought it was funny when I seen her in the chat. I was
but
like, "Who
yeah,
the f is this person?"
she's helped me a lot, you know what I mean? Cause like we make a comment about, you know, people having strong significant others behind you, mental
Right.
health is real. And
Yes.
sometimes you're gonna have those days where I'm gonna have those days where I'm not I'm not gonna be the best version of myself. And she's there because when I'm not strong, she's a little bit stronger than she is to be strong for me.
Yeah.
And I owe her a lot. She's great.
And that's
She's great.
a
And
good thing to have as a backing,
oh
and
yeah.
it took me 30 plus years to find Marsha, and I was just I wouldn't say just out of a relationship. We were broken up for like 6 months, but I was with that person for 8 years, and we had Robert together, and there was a lot of things that were wrong in the relationship. She cheated on me with the person she's with, and told my son that I was the one that was cheating on her, which I thought was kind of funny because I never once cheated on her. Never would I cheat on anybody. And, I started seeing things differently, and I was like, kept telling myself, like, why am I with somebody just because we have a kid? Like, and it's nothing against Robert. I want him to think that I don't want him to think I didn't love her because I did. I absolutely did. But the relationship was so bad, and I was like, I need somebody to love me. Like, I'm tired of being the one putting all the work into a relationship. It's a two-way street. Why am I always the one doing all the work? Like, every relationship, I was always fighting to keep the relationship. Why do I need that? And then I met Marsha, and instantly we just clicked, and it was, amazing friendship that turned into a marriage. We recently celebrated 2 years of being married on the 19th, and best thing in my life was meeting her. And I can honestly say that because if I didn't meet her, I would have never had Maddie. I don't know where I would be if I never met her. Honestly, I don't think I would be here. I don't think I would be alive right now. And I'm just being honest. You still there, Section 8? Uh-oh. Did I lose you?
I agree that it's like somewhere along the line when you do a lot of things to get the person, and when you get the person, somewhere along that line we stop doing the things that we needed to do to keep the person.
Right.
It's like a plant. You got to keep watering the plant. Just because you get the plant's not going to grow if you don't continue to water it and feed it.
Correct. 100% agree.
So you've got to do all the necessary steps, to take care of treat your significant other like the plant. You want to water it, you want to nurture it, you want to watch it, and then you grow together. That's the beautiful thing about a partnership.
Now, speaking of partnerships and whatnot, you know, I met you during the COVID era, and like a lot of people, we built a pretty strong community between all of us, including the Black Ice X, the Heartless Goddess, Smoke, Tyshawn, even you could throw in there. There was a lot of people that I got the privilege to meet and build a great bond, a great partnership with some people in a sense. Um, and we ironically interviewed you, and you told a story of how you got your gaming name, Section 8 Gaming, because you kind of grew up in poverty. Now, to get to what I want to ask, I know that growing up, sometimes some people had it easy, but there are some people that had some issues in life. Obviously, like you said, you never knew your father, so that might, that could hinder you in a way. Some people it does affect them mentally. I'm glad to see that it didn't affect me or you either way. But what are some things that you reflect on your life now as we sit here, 2025? You look back on your life and you really see the impact that it made. Do you think everything you went through made you better? Because
Absolutely.
yeah,
Absolutely. And the reason why I say that it made me better because it makes me appreciate the little things. Too often we get comfortable and expect, things to come our way or expect things to go our way. But no, it's you appreciate what you have and you appreciate the little things. And then if something does come your way, then it's a bigger blessing, or you get blessed and you have the opportunity to pay it forward, or give somebody a smile that they didn't have, do that. Do that because
yeah,
it's gonna come back to you. It's gonna come back
exactly.
to you. Don't be afraid in this day and time, don't be afraid to still be that bright spot and that light in the dark in this dark world and in these dark day and ages. Don't be afraid to still be that bright spot, because you never know what the next person's going through. And if you put a smile on that person's face, they might pay it forward and put a smile on somebody else's face, and it's contagious.
It is.
And that's what we're here for. See, along the lines, we as people, we forgot about humanity. We forgot about humanity and taking care of each other. It's not about what you have or what's in your pockets. It's about your fellow American beside you.
Exactly. So many people fought to allow us to be free. People lost their
Exactly.
lives, and a lot of times we take a lot of it for granted. And then that's kind of why we're doing these podcasts, and that's what we're about to get into more so is mental health. I know you're somebody that has dealt with some things, and it's easy for us to just tell people, yeah, I'm fine. I remember I was seeing this video, and this guy was sitting in a car, looked like he was just crying his eyes out, and all of a sudden somebody pulls up next to him and goes, "Hey man, you okay?" And then instantly he just changes his whole everything, and "Oh yeah, man, I'm good, man." But you see it, and you don't know what somebody's going through, but you've seen it before the guy even said anything. That the guy was obviously crying, and it's like it makes you really, I don't know, it makes you want to reach out more too. For me, I mean, me being who I am, I would love to reach out to these people, but the things I wanted to get to is, what are some things that you dealt with, rather it's in your childhood or so recently, because I know you've dealt with a lot of mental issues. Obviously, your mother passing definitely had to be hard because, as you said, she was your mother and your father all in one. It was a two for one there, and that's a major loss for you.
Yes. Yeah, that's you never get over that hurt. I mean, it still hurts. Holidays aren't the same. They'll never be the same. Um, the way your siblings used to treat you, they'll never treat you the same because they don't have that glue.
Right,
Your parents are the glue, you know, and you don't have that glue that actually gets a hold of your siblings and say, hey, we're meeting it, we're doing this at this person's house this year, or I'm bringing this for the gathering this year, or hey, we haven't done this, let's go out to the flea market this weekend, or you don't have none of that. You don't have none of that because the proverbial glue is gone, so.
yeah,
And then everybody necessarily starts to go their own way. um you brought up mental health. I'd like to share something that happened this week. Um, on the 20th, which was just a few days ago. Um, I woke up to a good friend of mine telling me that my niece's godfather was hit by an 18-wheeler. He also they're saying this was on his birthday, a day that we were supposed to celebrate him being alive. We had to take him off life support.
Dad. How old was he? Do you know?
Oh, he was born in 82. He was a little over 40.
Yeah,
A little over 40,
43.
I believe. Yeah,
Wow.
had two kids. Um, you know who's gonna teach those kids? Who's gonna teach those kids? Important life lessons.
Right,
You know, also in part we do talk about mental health, and mental health is real, but keep in mind, if you are struggling with mental health, please reach out to people. Please reach out to people because you do matter. We do care. Your loved ones care,
for sure.
and at the same time, don't be selfish. Because when you take yourself away from your loved ones, you're taking away you're taking away from them too.
Yeah,
You're you're taking away from them being from them knowing the positive things that you've done and the positive influence that you've made on other people as well.
right.
So
And
don't
you never
so
know what the future holds either. You never
exactly.
know. Yeah, it might be rough right now, but and I had those days before I met Marsha. Um, I never told this story to hardly anybody. I think I've only told the story to like maybe two people. One of them being a psychiatrist. I say about a month before Marsha and I even started talking. It was a couple months after about 3 4 months after my ex and I broke up, and I remember I was sitting at home and I was just like, I'm done. I don't want to live anymore. I don't. There's no reason for me to be here. My ex is taking my son to Oregon. I don't have nothing here. I just want to end it. And I started really thinking about it. I really was like trying to figure out what I wanted to do. And then all of a sudden I got this book out and I was gonna start writing a note and a piece of paper fell out. And I'll never forget it. It was actually from another ex that I dated a number of years back. And it said, "Hey, you're a total loser, but I absolutely adore you. I love you," and all this stuff. And it's just like for whatever reason, it made me really think like I deserve happiness in my life, and it really put in the perspective what I wanted. I didn't want her per se, like she was fucking batshit crazy, but but I mean that's neither here or there. But I knew I wanted something, and I was like, what am I doing? Like I'm about to take a take a gun to my head and kill myself for what reason? And it took that little note that I actually still have, and I hate the fact that it was from an ex that my wife knows because it makes it kind of worse. But the message that it left, I have it on the wall right behind my calendar, and I kept it there because of what it did for me, and I think I'm probably gonna keep it there for the rest of my life. I know it's probably gonna make Marsha happy, but I probably should tell her the story as to why it's still there because I
Well,
don't.
if she don't know, she knows now.
Yeah, she will know after the podcast because I know
She'll know now.
she'll listen to it for sure. She's been a huge help to that pushing the podcast out. But yeah, it's crazy like the things that you go through, and then like to see that put everything into perspective. This was back, in 2017, and then I look at my life where I'm at now. I have a really good paying job. I have a healthy 4-year-old daughter. I have an amazing wife. I have amazing parents that I love. And then I met all you guys on top of that. Like that's just like the sprinkles on top of the cake, you know? It's like there's so much that I really am grateful for, and I'm so glad I never did anything cuz I would never had any of this. I would have never had any of it obviously. And I'm thankful for every day that I have with these people. And I'm a proven point that, times aren't always bad. They might be bad now, but they will get better, especially if you reach out.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
But yeah, back to you now. But
There's nothing wrong with that.
mental health I
So
know is
listen, celebrate your wins. Celebrate your wins because you know what? Real friends celebrate your wins with you.
exactly.
Yes, celebrate your wins because you deserve that.
Now to get back to your mental health, what are some things that you deal with that, you know, maybe somebody out there might relate to?
Just advice would be lean on the people who are positive and put you in a positive headspace. Lean on those people. If number one, and I'll tell this to my friends, and I tell this to Amanda, and I tell this to people who are very important to me. Protect your peace. Protect your peace. If something is disturbing your peace or bothering your peace or putting you into a space where it's not good for you, leave it alone.
Yeah.
Leave it alone. If a person, if a per- and this is not being greedy, but if a person is not upgrading your life somewhat, leave them where they're at because you can't because with life and how everything is going, you don't need any other thing pulling you down, pulling you into an abyss. Be around positive people. Be around people who do positive things. And if they're not doing positive things, if they're making positive steps to do positive things, hey, that works. But you got to protect your peace and not necessarily let people pull you into things that you don't need to be pulled into.
Yeah. That's very good advice. Like, make sure that and also make sure you're keeping yourself protected, and that's an amazing piece of advice to have, It's hard to find good people. The word friend gets used so loosely these days. And
Yeah.
I will say I have a lot of great friends, but how many of the people that I consider friends are actually friends is another thing. Like I will say, I do have
Now,
a lot of great people that I know are my friends, but then there's some of them I'm like, I don't know if they really have the best interests for me.
now, are they friends or are they frenemies?
And that's the thing, you never know.
You never know.
I mean, certain people I know for sure, like Duke, you. I could probably list 100 people right now that I know. If I called them, said, "Hey, I'm going through this right now. Can we talk?" They would put everything aside. Granted, there might be something going on, but they would still do it for me. Just because of you know they know that there's certain things that I've dealt with. But there's a few people on my friends list that I don't even know why I'm friends with. Like none of them are like ex girlfriends or anything for the record. None of them. But
Yeah.
actually, all my exes are blocked with the exception of one, and that's because we have a son together. And that's just in case she needs to get a hold of me for whatever reason she can. That for the record, that's the only reason why I leave that kind of chain of communication open. We're not friends on Facebook. She's actually friends with my wife, though. I think she's friends with Marsha on Facebook. But yeah, I there's a lot of people on my friends list, and I guarantee if I start looking, I'm like, I don't even know who this person is. Even I could probably delete a lot of people on my Facebook, and even on my phone. There's a lot of people that I don't even talk to, and I'm like, and I look at my life, and I'm like, why was I ever friends with that person anyway? But yeah, make sure you have a good core of people around you for sure.
You
And
have to. You have
and
to.
the Stark Kingdom, that's kind of what we strive for. If you guys ever need anything, you can message my gaming page. I have a wonderful group of moderators that will be able to answer. Section 8 Gaming is another one. Make sure you
Yeah, but
follow.
I'm not in that moderator clan. I'm a little salty about that.
I was actually going to ask you
'Cause-
off stream about
Oh, okay.
that. I
Well,
really
see,
was.
I spoiled the surprise.
I
Then
was
I
gonna.
would be honored. I
I
would
was
be
thinking
honored.
about it as I was saying that. I was like, he's always in my streams. He's always been a hell. I was honest to God truth. I was thinking about asking you after the stream or after not the stream after the podcast. I don't know why I keep saying stream. I keep thinking we're streaming here. We're
Hey,
not.
I miss streaming. I miss streaming a little bit.
Yeah,
You
I
know,
loved your streams, man. You were wonderful, man, because you didn't care about the algorithm or any of that. You
nope.
played what
I just
you
care.
wanted to play or what
I hit that button to go live to make people laugh. I love to make people laugh, smile, and just forget about the bullshit that they got going on in their life. You know what I mean? I love that. I don't, because we're all going through something.
right.
We're all being hit by life's bullcrap. So if I can make you forget about life's bullcrap in how many ever hours I go live, minutes, or seconds, if I can make you forget about that life's bullshit and the stress that you got going on and make you laugh and smile and make you tell a joke that I've told, repeat it to somebody else later on in the week, I have done my job.
Exactly. Exactly.
That's what mean that's what it means. That's what it meant to me to actually to actually stream. Now I know we always do that. We always do a segment where what does Star King mean? What does Star King mean to me? Um, Star King, Star King means a lot of things to me. I'll just sum it up in words: brother, friend, loyal, honest, straight shooter, awesome father, great husband, great provider, a man of many talents, and a very hardworking individual. And I'm also blessed to call him my friend.
Wow. It's like I didn't even have to ask the question. You went into it. And that's one of the last two questions I'll ask. And then I'll tell the person what they mean to me, and that way people can have a better understanding. So the reason why we're doing these podcasts and the reason why Section 8 was one of the first few people that I wanted on here is because of what they mean to me. To better tell his story, and there's going to be multiple podcasts, and I'll probably get. I'm thinking about having like a group one where we get people like you, people like Nico, people that really truly meant a lot to me mentally, There were some times where, we didn't know what was going on. The world was shut down. We had a lot of things that were going on. And to have a group of core people and to have certain people, I was thinking about even doing like a podcast featuring some of you guys. But to better tell what Section 8 means to me is, like he said, a brother. And I look at you and, we troll each other, but it's a playful troll. I'll talk a little crap and then, I don't go too far. I mean, there's times where I might got close to line, but I would never go too far because one thing for sure I would never want is to upset Section 8 because of what he means to me. He is somebody that exemplifies what I want in a friend. Somebody I know I can message like, hey, I have a question. I'm going through this. What do you think? And he's gonna give me the answer that I need to hear, not what I want to hear, but what I need to hear. And he's going to tell me in a way to make sure that I understand where he's coming from. Rather, it's a place of, hey, you're being a dumbass right now. Why don't you go in there and take care of business, or whatever it may be. Like I'm just throwing examples out there. It might not be something that, it might be that tough love that I need, and that's what he brings to me. Somebody I can depend on, and you know, I'm not gonna say he's hella older than me, but he is older than me. Not by a lot. He's just older than me. I'm not throwing no numbers out there, but he's somebody.
I'm seasoned.
He's a veteran. He's a veteran out there.
I'm not a wheelchair AARP carrying veteran, but
he's up to where I can
I'm
say
seasoned.
he's a man of wisdom. He's not
Well,
old
thank you.
by
I
any
appreciate
means,
that.
and I am grateful for our bond that we have, and through the bond of gaming, it's so nice to have this amazing brotherhood that I have with you. So now to get to the end of the podcast, I guess, because I always ask this question after I ask that. Chris Van Vliet is a wonderful podcaster. I love him. I started doing this exercise because of him. And I start every day and end every day the same way now. I start with saying three things I'm grateful for and end with three things I'm grateful for. A lot of times it's the same thing, but they do change. So as we sit here, Section 8 Gaming, at the end of this podcast, what are three things that you are grateful for as we sit here?
Three things I'm grateful for. I'm grateful for life. I'm grateful for the handful of friends that I have in my life. And I'm grateful for my cat.
That's awesome. How old is your cat?
Her name is Erin, and she is 6 years old.
It's a kind of young cat. Kind of young. That's awesome. I didn't even know you had a cat, I don't think.
Yeah. Her name. She is named after Aaron Rodgers, the now quarterback for the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Hey, you know what? He was a Green Bay Packer legend, so
He is.
that's
And,
you guys
and
had a
she's a
lot of great
legend.
quarterbacks and having
We
great
did.
quarterbacks.
We did. We didn't get to touch on. We didn't touch on that. That's
That's for part two.
That's a discussion for part two.
That's why
Yes,
I
yes.
leave a lot of holes in these podcasts because
Leave a lot of meat on the bone.
I want to leave meat on the bone. That way we could talk more into depth, and then that way there's going to be part twos for everybody because of how much you guys mean to me. It would be like a 7-hour podcast if I did everybody the way like Duke went over 3 hours, and that's because we were having so many technical issues. I mean, it's just
He's
he's
a great guy. He's
he's
a
a
great
yeah.
great man.
Yeah,
Great man.
and again, I cannot thank you enough for doing this. Like I said, there was a long list of people I had, and you were like literally the third person on the list. And then
Thank you so much for considering me to be on this.
I ended up going with Duke before you, only because our schedules aligned perfectly. That's all it was. And we were talking one day, and I was like, I mentioned about the podcast, and he goes, "Oh, when am I going to be on one?" And I was like, "Well, when do you want?" He goes, "I'm free today," and I was like, "Oh, okay."
Yeah, you just had to get the Rams fan before the Packers fan. I see.
Hey, well,
I
save
see
the
how it
best for
goes.
last,
Because we're rivals. I get it. I get it. You gotta give him the non-rival special treatment. It's okay.
Well, to be fair,
So
I know we're
When
rivals.
when is the tatted the tatted 49er coming? I
I
want to listen
gotta
to
I
that.
gotta talk to him more. We've been talking a lot. It's just trying to set up a date, and I'm even thinking about doing it in person.
That's gonna be dope.
I
Yeah, I
want to
think you
talk to
guys should do
him,
it in
and
person.
we made a comment. I said we live so close to each other, bro. We could literally just go get like a, even if we went to get a hotel room and just set up the stream stuff. I can bring my laptop and bring my mic and recording stuff that I have, and I don't know. I gotta get it together. It's just one of those things. It's like it's hard with my schedule. It's more my schedule than his, because the days that he's free are days that I normally work. But I mean, I could always call in sick. It's just and obviously Sunday being a football day, that's like a religious holiday for him.
Well,
Sunday
yeah.
Sundays are hard for me to get him in, but I don't know. We've been talking a lot, and it's going to happen. Even Duke said it's going to happen. It's just it's just one of those
Yeah.
things. It might not be the way I want. It might have to be like kind of what we did here, but it's
That's gonna
coming.
be a good that's gonna be a good one because I'm curious to hear um his thoughts about Facebook and
Right?
how they've done how they're doing
Yeah.
their partners and what's the ins and outs. Because I know some partners have been posting they were posting some things about what Facebook was doing, but um I haven't heard the
Yeah.
inside because I mean I know that you're friends with Tatted, you're close friends with Tatted. Um I'm close friends with Gamer First. I know Gamer First. He's literally in the same town as me.
Oh, I didn't know
Um,
that.
yeah, matter of fact, I when I made my post about mental health, and I'll go ahead and put I'll go ahead and share what I put on Facebook on the podcast. I put mental health is real. Love someone while they are here. Do not love them while they are gone. And yeah, he threw a heart on there, because hey, mental health is real. We've got to support
Agreed.
everyone. It's not just men's mental health, it's women's mental health too. It's mental health everywhere.
Right.
So we've got to be there for each other, support each other and help each other.
That kind of something I'm going to say in the intro. With this podcast is I'm gonna mention it. I'll just say it now, but Sony Loki has agreed to do one. I know a lot about her. She's kind of an open book if you actually ever talk to her. like, like she'll tell you literally everything, and there's some things that I know she could help future women. So I'm gonna get her on here. I really would like to talk to Lindsay and Paige. Just talk to them and see if I can get like, even if I do it singly, they don't have to be together. I wouldn't mind it together because I think it would be a lot of fun. I should message Nurse Unicorn. I haven't talked to her in a while anyway. But I do want to get Shadow Lady. I messaged her. She never read my message. I don't know. She didn't leave me on red or nothing. I can't even get mad. I don't know if she just doesn't get on Messenger or she don't have Messenger on her phone. But I asked David first. For the record, I did ask David first. I said,
Yeah,
hey,
I don't think he'd be liking you messaging his wife. I'm just
yeah.
kidding.
No, I mean, to be fair, I have that kind of respect, like especially if I know the person's significant other, even if it's just a dating person.
We're joking, listeners. We're not
Yeah,
encouraging
yeah,
any crazy behavior like that.
yeah. Plus,
We're
she's so
just
in love with
focused on.
him, and
Oh, I know that.
she ain't going nowhere. Even if I tried, I guarantee you, she wouldn't even go nowhere. Not that I would. Nothing against her. I just know she's so madly in love with him. I would never even try anything. But I would like to talk to her because I know she's been through some stuff, especially in the last 5 years. Like I know she was, there's some things that she went through. I would like to talk to her about, and I know she could help a lot of people. So I'm trying to get her on here as well. So I started off. I had literally a list of like 20 different guys, and I was like looking at it, and I was like, wait a minute, I'm missing something here. I was like, there's women out there that can tell stories just as good as us. Like, they deal with mental health issues. I'm gonna get Star
Absolutely.
Queen on here too. She's gonna tell her story, which that's gonna I'm gonna learn a
Oh
little bit.
yeah, get her on here. I'm anxious to see. I'm anxious to hear the deep dark that you didn't share. We're gonna get all that juicy good stuff.
Yeah.
Marsha will tell it.
Yeah, she will. She won't sugarcoat it. And she lost her mother back in 2008, the same year I lost my father. She lost her mother in July of that year. Um, Her mom's birthday was yesterday. And it's kind of a sad time of year for her. And again, you mentioned it, like holidays are never the same. And I know from just my grandpa, Jamal, some other people that were close to me, that certain days just don't mean the same anymore. But I'm thankful I have my mom. And yeah, I lost my grandma, and like that made Christmas hard because my grandma was one of those. She loved Christmas, like she was all about Christmas. But I also have a 4-year-old that loves Christmas and is all about Christmas. So Maddie
There
kind
you
of took
go.
over
Son.
for that, which is
It'll transfer to her.
yeah, and it's like all great, and it's amazing to have so much. Yeah, there's so much I'm thankful for right now. There's so much. There's like a million things I could say that I'm grateful for, but I'm grateful that I got to interview you. The Section 8 Gaming Part 1. I know this is Part 1. I know there's going to be multiple parts with him in it. Might be a Part 2 just solo, and then like do like I said, like a group one where I get a few other people in here. I would like to do like a pop podcast, maybe even live on stream, so we can get some people to ask questions too.
Yeah, we need to get an NFL podcast.
I would love that.
And
We can
it,
set that up.
would it would be dope. It would be dope if we did an NFL podcast with a nice good 4-man panel.
Yeah, exactly. And people that are true NFL fans, not just oh, I'm all about my team. I would like to hear from people that actually truly appreciate the NFL. Maybe because I was a Lions fan, I was able to appreciate the NFL so much because our team fucking sucked for so many years.
you you said it, not me.
I'm
So
just
I
thinking
mean,
about that. Like that might be why I enjoy so many other teams. Like, and again, I mentioned it earlier. The Packers had probably two of the greatest quarterbacks of their eras with Aaron Rodgers, Brett Favre, Jordan Love. I think is going to be a great thing. I've said that to you before. I think Jordan Love is very. I think he's underrated in the NFL, and that's saying something because he gets a lot of love out there. I love watching him play. It's just not when he's playing against us.
we'll get into a deeper dive on him.
Yeah,
Like I think the jury's still out on him. He like I was telling you, he the shades of the Brett Favre stuff, and I don't like that, and the fact that you know the too many throws off the back foot, and you're trying to be like Aaron Rodgers. You can't make those throws off your back
right,
foot like that.
right.
You know, you're in about okay. Let's say you got 10 attempts for throwing off your back foot. He's only going to make 3 of those.
Yeah,
He's only going to make 3 of those. And that's not a good percentage wise of you doing that. I mean, I love the confidence in the kid, because he's only 27 years old,
yeah.
but I can't get behind you trying to always throw off your back foot and thinking you're Aaron Rodgers and you can throw it and you can, yeah, you just throw the ball away, kid. Live to fight another down.
Yeah,
You
exactly.
know,
Not fourth and goal. It's not fourth and long. It's, yeah.
but I did hear an interesting stat, and I won't touch on it too far because I know I don't want to keep you too much longer. Um, we are the best team in the NFL for converting third downs, and and the average third downs that we convert are third and long.
Yeah. It's not bad. That's not a bad thing. And again, I will say I think he's underrated. A lot of people talk about him too, and that's saying something. I mean, I can't name a Green Bay Packer wide receiver right now, other than that kid. I'm drawing a blank on him now. Oh my gosh, just seen a video with him, and I was like, wow, that was an amazing catch.
Romeo Dobbs,
Yeah, yeah, Dobbs. Yeah,
he's very underrated.
but yeah. No, you
Very
got. And
underrated.
I mean, I look back at your team when I really first started watching football, and I remember one particular player because he actually signed a football for me. His name's Robert Brooks. I wish I still had that football. I lost that so many years ago. But
Robert Brooks was a decent receiver.
he was a good person too. He was actually at a Lions game in at the Pontiac Stadium back then. I remember we were near the goal line, and he came up. There was a lady about 3 seats over from us that was wearing a Packers jersey, and he came up to there was a whole bunch of kids right there, and he came up to all of us and asked us if we wanted to sign football from him, and it was like, well, yeah, you're you're a football player, of course, And he went through every kid, gave us all signed footballs. I was like, wow, that was the coolest thing ever. Like he didn't have to do that. He paid out of his own pocket for these footballs and gave it to us kids. Like I said, I wish I would have kept that. I don't know whatever happened to it. I lost that when I was probably like, I don't know, 15 years old or so. Probably in a move because we moved around a lot. But yeah, that was an amazing. He was an amazing person. I was like, wow. And then you guys had one of the best catches I've ever seen with Antonio Freeman. He
Yes,
did what?
the Minnesota
Yeah,
the Minnesota
and
game.
on a
That
Monday
was
Night Football game at
the
that.
best catch I ever seen too from him.
Yeah, and probably the best catch I've ever seen. I mean, no offense to like Randy Moss and you know OBJ made a really good catch. I will say that was pretty clean, but that catch that Freeman did, I still couldn't believe it. Even after watching the highlights 20, 30 times, I still couldn't believe it. It's so wild, like some of these plays that they made, and of course we had Herman Moore, and he was my favorite player. One because we have the same last name, and two he was just somebody I wish I could have actually met in person. I have an autograph 8x10 of his somewhere, and he
I'm I'm a super huge football fan, just like you are.
yeah
Like I was talking to a Broncos fan this week. He's a younger guy. Uh he started talking about the Broncos and I said, how long you been a Broncos fan? Since we won back to back Super Bowls. I was like, okay. So me being a trash talker, I said, "What's John El?" I said, "Oh, so you're one of the new age Bronco fans. So what's John Elway's record in the Super Bowl?"
couldn't
I just
answer.
know about the two. I just know about the two wins that he got. I said John Elway's record is 2-3 in the
Yep.
Super Bowl,
Yeah, I was gonna say
and
2 and 3.
he's thrown 3 touchdown passes with 8 interceptions.
The year that Stephen Baker was drafted, the Giants beat him. Ironically, the coach of the Broncos was the coach that released Stephen Baker, Dan Reeves.
Yep.
He was the coach of the Broncos in '85, and then in '93, he was the coach that would end up releasing Stephen Baker. Kind of a weird turnaround there.
Yeah. It's not really funny that you bring up the Giants. My mom was a diehard Giants
I
fan.
remember that. Actually, I remember that. I kind of forgot about that. I'm glad you did say that. Because
Actually, before she passed, I bought her an Eli Manning jersey, and it was the Eli Manning jersey with the Super Bowl patch, and the Super Bowl patch was the same year that they beat those undefeated
Patriots,
Patriots.
yeah, that was a good game too. That David Tyree catch, oh man, that was
Yeah,
another
that
good
was
one.
the helmet.
Yeah,
The helmet. I was like, wow.
that was an amazing game, especially for me to watch the Patriots lose. I,
That was the same year. That was the same year that we were 15-1 and the Giants beat us to knock us out of the playoffs. We set all kinds of records that year.
you
Being a
guys had a
Packers fan,
team back then because
yeah,
that was when Donald
fifteen and
Driver,
one.
yeah, Donald Driver was that James Jones was there.
Yep, Donald Driver, James
Bubba
Jones.
Franks, I just love that name, Bubba Franks.
I like Jermichael Finley better than I
Marker
like
Finley was better. I think he was better,
Jermichael
but
Finley was woof.
Bubba Franks, I just love that name, Bubba Franks. Like I don't know, just kind of
He's a good tight end.
yeah. No, none against him. He was better than the ones that we had on the Lions during that time frame. We didn't have much to look forward to. Going 0-16,
Yeah,
couple
that's
two,
it's
but
crazy.
yeah, we had some bad years, and I think that's why I was able to appreciate the game of football. Not only that, I got to watch a lot of great players, especially living out here in California. The Joe Montana, Steve Young. Even with the Raiders, they had Rich Gannon. Jerry Rice was on both teams. Tim Brown. I got to see a lot of great players out here. So
You want to? I must confess. Before I actually turned into a Green Bay fan, because I've been a Green Bay fan since '88. Before I turned into a Green Bay fan, I actually that was the time after 85 after the Bears won and the Niners were getting that good. I almost became a Niners fan. Don't you tell that to tatted. But yeah, I almost became a Niners fan because I just love the way they played.
Yeah,
I love their offense.
yeah. They had a lot of grit too back in those days. A
I
lot of
love Roger Craig.
yeah,
I
Roger
love
Craig.
Roger Craig, and I love Tom
I was gonna
Rathman.
say Tom Ratham too. They were both solid, man. You know, it's just crazy to think like some of the players that they had in the '80s and the '90s, even. Charles Haley came along. He only played like a year or two with the Niners, but some of the big names that they would end up having, all Hall of Famers. Well, Roger Craig, I think, isn't. Neither is Rantham, but Joe Montana, Jerry Rice. Uh, Gosh, I could name probably like 20 players. That Ronnie Lott, like they had some players, and they were a lot of fun to watch. But to see them lose to like the New York Giants or even the Green Bay Packers, especially in the late '90s with Steve Young versus Brett Favre, I loved watching those games. Those games were so much fun to watch. You never knew what was going to happen because they're both so good.
Yeah,
That's just who I am. But we're gonna end the podcast there before we go too far. I do need to go to bed so before Marsha comes in here and slaps me. But Section 8, thank you so much for doing this. There's gonna be
it
a
was my pleasure. It
there's
was
gonna be
my pleasure, brother.
part
Thank you
two,
so much.
part threes, even possibly even more. I definitely will get you on here again because this was a lot of fun. I enjoyed every second of this.
Real quick before you end, shout out, shout out to, shout out to the whole Green Bay Packers squad for getting that W today.
Yes.
Bears, mark your time because your time of being in first place is numbered. Good luck on Thursday. Shout out to Panda. Shout out to Babe. Thank you so much for being my voice of reason sometimes when I tend to go off the rails. I appreciate you more than you know. Um, and thank you so much for this podcast. I can't wait to be on the next one. I can't wait.
It's gonna be a lot of
Thank you so
fun,
much.
man. It's gonna be a lot of fun. Thank you so much. And that concludes another wonderful edition of Starkin Gaming Presents Storytime. Now, to end these podcasts, I decided to do something different. And each end of each podcast is gonna have story time with Starkin Gaming. I'm gonna tell a story that you guys might know, might not know. I don't tell a lot of stories about myself that unless it pertains to a certain situation. So I figured I'd tell a story that I know a lot of you do not know. Back in, I want to say it was like 2007, 2008 ish. And again, I could be wrong with the time frame because a lot happened. Um, to be honest, the time frame I'm thinking of, I know it was like in that area because when I looked up one of the guys, he left in 2008, but I'm pretty sure it was like in 2007. And again, I could be 100% wrong, but I actually was a huge WWE fan, wrestling fan in general, WCW. I can go on and name like all these thousands of wrestlers that I liked, and I actually I remember I remember this pretty well. Um, the story pretty well, obviously because I lived it. But I don't remember the time frame. But I went to this wrestling school back in '05. It was they offered weekend classes that you can go literally Saturday, Sunday every week. And at the time, I was working Monday through Friday at a warehouse, and so I took it, and I did it for about 6 months. The guys there were amazing. One guy was a former WCW wrestler. I don't remember his name off the top of my head. It'll probably come to me after I'm done. I was actually trying to think of that before I started recording, but I could not remember. Anyway, he wrestled in the WCW. Was never a really big time wrestler, but he had a pretty long tenure in the WCW. Mainly in the earlier part of WCW's run, like the '88 to '95 area. He retired back in 2000, but took up a wrestling school out in Oakland, California, and then he moved to LA. Well, he actually got me in touch with this guy. This guy I met, his name is Anthony. I don't remember his last name, but his father had a lot of money, and therefore he had a lot of money. and his father owned this wrestling company, but Anthony was the promoter, and he kind of ran it. Both of them were huge WWE fans, and they owned this wrestling company called PCWA, stand for Pacific Coast Wrestling Association, and they wrestled all the way from San Diego all the way up north to Washington, and they had shows pretty much every other Saturday. They would do like a few shows here and there, and it was all back then. They had internet series. No longer are they around. In fact, they shut this website down and everything. I looked into it. I cannot find anything about it. It's 100% shut down. Um, but we got to meet some amazing people because how it used to work, and I don't know if it still does. It might still work this way. A lot of times when the WWE comes to let's say for example Sacramento, California, they'll look for local talent versus trying to call up somebody from NXT or whatever. A lot of times now they don't, now that they have NXT, it's a little bit different, I'm sure. But back then they would mainly use local talent, and it might be to like maybe somebody's returning and they just want them to have a squash match, that kind of thing. Sometimes they'll use people for security guards, but back then, PCWA was offered from WWE. They asked to send three people. Um, One guy was going to be a bodyguard, one guy was going to do this, and then they weren't sure if they were going to use the third guy. So they sent me, another guy named Zeke. Zeke is 6'8", and at that time he was 300 plus pounds. He was a big guy, big boy, and was built like a tank. It was a former NFL. Actually, I don't think he played in the NFL. He played in the CFL. Excuse me. He was an offensive lineman, um, and decided to get into wrestling because he got hurt and just did not want to play football anymore. And then there was another guy who his name is Aaron Williams. And the reason why I remember his name really well was there was a basketball player named Aaron Williams. No relation, obviously. But Aaron passed away back in 2012 in a car accident. Um, Aaron was somebody I was actually kind of friends with. I actually talked to him a lot. And there's another guy, and I won't say his name because he asked me not to say his name on the podcast. He is somebody, I wouldn't say we're friends, but acquaintances, who also wrestled for a company who I just recently messaged because I was having a hard time remembering some of the things because I just couldn't remember. But back then, the WWE a lot of times would call local venues, local wrestling programs, and we were pretty well known in the Bay Area more so. And they had this event going on in San Francisco. And they sent me and Zeke and Aaron Williams. They picked the other two guys. I did not make it to TV. But there was a guy that was in there that was working for the WWE. His name is Paul Burchill. He was like this pirate gimmick guy. And I remember we went in there and we were introducing, like we met Lillian Garcia. We met all these people, like all these wonderful human beings. Batista was actually one of the nicer guys. He asked where we were from, and he actually talked to us for a minute. Randy Orton was actually kind of a jokester back then. Him and another guy, Mark Jindrak or something like that. Anyway, Paul Burchill came up to me and introduced himself, and we were talking. Me and him, we talked for literally like 3-4 minutes, just talking and BSing. And WWE, one of the guys that was doing the head writing grabbed Aaron, and then another guy grabbed Zeke. And then I was just kind of sitting there, and I asked, I was like, "Oh, am I going to be doing something?" And they said, "At the moment, no. If you want, you can go home. You know, here's your check for $150 because they paid you no matter what. Plus, they paid for catering. Plus, they picked us up and drove us to the venue, all paid, and they were willing to drive us home. Um, it was really cool. But Paul said, I kind of looked at Paul and I was like, "Oh, can I just stay?" And they're like, "Oh, absolutely, because you never know, we might need you." And then Paul said, "Yeah, stay." He goes, "You just never know. You might make TV." He goes, "There's been times where I wasn't supposed to be, and they just go, 'Oh, we need you for this or whatever.'" He goes, "Just stay. Plus, you get free food." um, and this was for either SmackDown or Monday Night Raw. I don't really recall. I want to say it was SmackDown because I feel like it was like it wasn't Monday. It was like a Wednesday or Tuesday or something. And I could be wrong. I genuinely don't remember. But Paul and we were sitting there talking and catering. I met Kane for the first time. It's Glenn Jacobs. He actually introduced himself as Glenn. He was sitting next to me. I I don't think he wrestled that night. I think he was just there. And he sat next to me when catering when I was talking with Paul. Paul was sitting ahead of me at this table, and Kane sits next to me. Goes, "Can I?" Or asked if he could sit first, and I said, "Oh, of course." And he goes, "I just saw you guys talking. I figured I'd hang out with you guys for a few minutes before he had to go do his thing." And we were just talking, and I asked Kane, I was like, how hard was it for you to like disguise yourselves, because you're so damn tall? And he says, I never did, son. He goes, I tried for a little while. I just got tired of doing it, and it was pretty cool, like to hear their stories. So I'm there. I didn't get used, but I got paid, so I was happy. Some time goes by, and since we borrow some of their talent, sometimes they would send talent our way. Some months go by. They're back in San Francisco, and we actually had an event in San Francisco on a Saturday, and WWE was supposed to be on Monday Night Raw. I think it was supposed to be in San Jose. Chris Jericho wasn't back yet, but was set to come back at that time. I don't remember the time frame again. It's been so long. Um, Again, it could have been like 2007, 2008 ish is the time frame I remember because I quit wrestling in 2010 entirely. But he was supposed to make his return back in or he had made his return, and he wanted to work on a new finisher, and so he had made his return. He was just coming back to WWE. After being gone for a couple of years. And I remember this story in particular because I remember the after effects. Anyway, Chris Jericho comes into our locker room. We're all just sitting there getting ready. And he goes, I'm looking for James Moore. And I said, that's me. And he goes, all right, I want to talk to you. And I was like, oh, okay. And so we go into where he was. He had his own little locker room that they gave him because, he's the big time star. And he says, you're going over to, I'm facing you today. And I said, oh, okay. And he said, what's your finisher? And I said, well, I call it the Big Red. It's a diamond cutter RKO type move. And he goes, okay. And I said, why am I going over? Which means when they say you're going over, that means you're going to win the match. He's telling me I'm going to win the match. And I said, why am I going over? And he goes, let me tell you something, son. It makes no sense for me to beat you, because what do I gain? And I said, well, you're Chris Jericho. You should beat me. And he goes, that's right, I should. He goes, I'm not arguing that. He goes, I should beat you because I am the big star. But if I win, what do I gain? I gain nothing. But if you win, you could say you beat Chris Jericho. How many people in this building can say that? Literally none of them. I've never faced any of these guys. So Chris Jericho wanted to try out, or wanted me to try wrestling him and all this. And I will say this: wrestling Chris Jericho was the highlight of my wrestling career for sure. Nothing will ever top it. He was a little bit out of shape, a little bit because he was trying to get back into the ring shape. He hadn't made his return yet, but he was coming back. I think that's what it was because he was going back to WWE. He had taken like almost a 2-year break at that point. It might have been 2 years, and he was trying to make a return. I remember it now. I remember the story. Him telling me, and me and him have this pretty solid match. It was like a 11-minute match or something like that. And he went for the Lionsault. I rolled over. And he was selling that, he hit his ribs, and then I hit the Big Red, as they call it, the RKO. I'll say it like that, and then covered him 1, 2, 3, and celebrated. And then I was up on the. He said, "Go to the top rope, kid. I want to drag you down." And I was like, "Oh, okay." So I go up on the top rope, and I'm celebrating, because I won. And he grabs me, and I jump down. And then he puts his hand out and we shake hands and then we leave, and I thanked him. We get in the back and he said, he goes, what do you got planned tonight? And I said, literally nothing. I said, I ain't got no money to really do much, so I'm just gonna go head home. And he goes, "You want to hang out with me?" He goes, "I'm going to San Jose. I'm supposed to meet up with WWE there on Monday. I got nothing going on. I think this was Saturday. I'm pretty sure it was a Saturday." And I said, "Oh, okay." He goes, "Yeah, they won't be here till Monday. So I just got here a little early." So I said, "Oh, absolutely." So we go to this bar. It's just a local bar in San Jose. I don't remember the name of it. And then he goes, "You want to go to a strip club?" So we went to a strip club, had a lot of fun, and then we went to another bar. And I remember the last bar we were at. That's when I was talking to him, and had a wonderful conversation with him. And of course I had to go home. Got picked up, went home. It was literally the highlight of my life at that point. I was kind of dealing with a breakup. Just was not in a great place. But to have that match and to have Chris Jericho be somebody I can say I beat was amazing. And I remember some of the things he was telling me, and I asked him, I said, "Well, what's your advice for somebody that wants to get in this business?" He says, "If you really are trying to get in this business, don't give up." He goes, "How old are you?" And at that time, I was 22, 20, 21, 22, maybe 23 at the most. And he says, "You still have a lot of life to live." He goes, "I recommend if you're going to do this, that you do it as a single man, because you're going to put your wife through a lot. You see what we just did today." He goes, "My wife knows that I go to these things, and it's just my way to escape and get away from reality." He goes, "Granted, I'm not going to go take any of these girls home. I got a wife at home. I'm not going to do anything like that, but it's like a way for me to have fun." And I was just like, wow. And he said, "Don't do this if you're married or you have plans on getting married." He goes, "Because unless they plan on being on the road with you, it's not going to work well for you." And honestly, that was probably the best advice anybody could ever given you, because it was real advice. One thing I liked about Chris Jericho was he was very, very humble. He paid for all the drinks. He paid for the lap dances. He paid for everything. I had such a great time. And again, I was, 21, 22 years old, whatever it may have been. And Chris Jericho was there to have fun. And he probably doesn't remember this night because it wasn't the night that, is on his checklist. But like I said, when he came there, first thing he told me was, "You're going over tonight, kid." You know, that that was just like, wow. He told me like how he could see the finish working, and he goes, "Just listen to me out there. Just do what I tell you, and we're gonna have a good match." And he asked me like if there's any restrictions I have. I said, "I'm not really a high flyer, but I mean, I don't mind getting on the top rope and whatnot." And he said, "Okay, that's fine. I can do all the highlight stuff." And again, we had a very good match. He actually put me in the walls of Jericho, and I was able to get to the ropes and break free. That was pretty cool. That was a pretty awesome moment. But it also hurt a lot. I didn't realize that maneuver would hurt. Again, he was supposed to hit the lion salt on me and then do his finisher, and missed it. It was pretty cool. It was nice that I was able to hit my finisher on him and win. Again, that was a humbling experience. But I said this, and I'm going to say this again. Thank you guys so much for listening. I appreciate it. You guys have an amazing day, and we will see you on the next podcast.